other side now?
Yeah.
Where's the beer guards? Elon now wants to get with President Trump. I said, yes. You know what? Can you hear me?
Barely. You'll hear it barely whenever we turn the music off.
Elon Musk Trump. What a dick. We don't need that in our country. And now the Democrats are embracing us, so then we're going to get all the stuff done.
Here we go. 3,
can happen.
2, 1.
Boom! And welcome to the Big Honker Podcast, brought to you by Dirty Duck Coffee. If your coffee sucks, it's not the duck. Check them out at dirtyduckcoffee.com. I'm Jeff Stanfield with the Texas Tech Red Raider,
Raider Power.
Andy Shaver. Who's winning tonight? Big game tonight.
So this is coming out next week, so this will be retroactive. I got to go with my Lady Raiders. They're pitching Texas's number one pitcher, though, so.
I don't think it comes down to who's pitching on the other team.
They had the bats going, though, so
If
we'll see.
Now, they hit the ball a lot better last night.
But they weren't going against their ace.
No. Texas even hit the ball a little better last night, too. And that girl kind of got worn down at the end. And 3 days in a row pitching.
She's pitched almost 500 pitches.
Well, she's going to pitch third game tonight.
I think that's all Tech has.
I would throw her out there. I think she should have never, ever tried to walk that girl the other night, and this game would probably be over. I think Tech, the best player on the field is for Texas Tech. It's the pitcher. And I'm a Longhorns fan, but I think Tech wins the game. With us today is Dr. Mike from TCU. Who do you think wins tonight, Doc?
All right, so I've got to be honest here.
No, not a big softball watcher.
Actually, I am.
Are you?
But I follow Penn State
Oh, really?
because of a family connection. So once Penn State was kind of out of it, I really kind of turned it off and haven't followed it since. So,
Penn State.
yeah, my son works there.
Oh, okay.
So he's connected to the Penn State softball team. And so I do follow softball. But once Penn State was out, I stopped following it.
So we have a girl that hunts with us, one of our clients, Reese Collier. She plays for Coastal Carolina. She was a true freshman. She had a couple of dingers this year, and they made the tournament. They got beat out by, I think Duke maybe beat them. I can't remember who beat them. They got beat out in the second round. They won their deal and got beat in the first round. But I've watched more women's sports because I'm not an NBA fan, but I enjoy college softball. That's probably, outside of college football, my favorite college sport is college softball. It's a good game. It's fast. There's a lot of, and those girls are amazing athletes.
Yep.
And the girl from Tech is hard not to like. If Tech was playing anybody but Texas, I would be pulling for Tech. She's so likable. She talks about God and family. She's a good person. And she's got a big check.
Yeah. Well, that's always nice.
I wonder if someone offers her more money. She's making $1 million a year. I could see a big money program. I mean, I told Andy, and Andy, we've talked about this before. I called this last year when they signed her. I said, it's the only sport you can play where you can win with just one player can make a set. And the other girls have played good, but in softball, the pitcher can pitch every day.
Makes the game. Yeah.
And I could see someone coming out and saying, hey, let's give her $3 million. We could beat Texas Tech next year.
Yeah, I just don't know what the bandwidth is on that, right? Like, I don't know how big of a money generator,
Right.
the softball is. And I love watching softball. Like, I never thought I would. I actually love it now. Like, it's a great sport.
They've sure got a lot of attention. How much money is worth of attention? Like Deion Sanders has run Colorado a ton of notoriety.
Oh,
Texas Tech has gotten a ton of notoriety for their $1 million they spent on her. I think it's money well spent, and I could see a school with deeper pockets saying, hey, we'll give her $3 million. But I think she likes Tech.
How could you not?
Well, the Tech poached her from Stanford.
Lubbock is a great place. They had millions of tornadoes last night. It's a great place to live. How could you not love Lubbock?
The Raider Rash.
I don't know about the whole Raider thing just drives me crazy. Like, especially being from South Texas.
Yeah. This area up here is all Tech, though. I mean, you walk out here and that's all you hear.
Everybody.
Tech, everything.
Yeah.
Everybody. My buddy from high school sent me a picture the other day with Corey Morrow. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, how do you know him? He's like, oh, he was my fraternity brother. I'm like, well, all my buddies up here that are Red Raiders know him. I'm like, there's too much of this guns up going around this state.
Everywhere.
Like, it's almost like.
And Fort Worth has a lot of it, too.
I see more Aggies in Fort Worth than I do. So I'm actually happy to see a Red Raider in Fort Worth. But that's just because I don't like Aggies. I'm just kidding. I got a lot of friends that are Aggies. But growing up in the state, I guess you got to pick a side. UT Aggies and South Texas. So I was always a UT fan.
A&M has got to be hating this. Because what are they relevant in?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I mean, it wasn't football. It wasn't basketball. It wasn't baseball. They were last year. Then their coach left to go to Texas.
I know.
And then now girls softball, they're watching Tech and Texas play. You know they're hating that.
Yeah. Beautiful facility. We went down there last year for the tournament.
At A&M?
Yep.
Oh, they got a ton of money. They're good people, man.
Gorgeous.
I hunt so many Aggies, but they sure are easy to jack with.
Yeah. Well, I think it's all in good fun. And, especially growing up in Texas, you have to, people from Texas understand that. Sometimes I get I can't believe you're being that mean. Like, it's all in good fun. Like,
It has some thicker skin. Texas is unlike any place else other than California because there's so many big schools here.
Yep.
I mean, California does, but I don't know. Does Stanford, is there a big...
I don't know. Like, I didn't have a lot of friends that were college graduates when I lived in California. So I didn't get exposed to it as much as I have. Like, after I retired is really when I was exposed to more of the college graduate or attendee population, where I've picked up more on it. I mean, growing up, everybody's, Longhorn or an Aggie. We just happened to be, Longhorns. And then, I really didn't go to either. But yeah, so I don't know. I've never really talked to a lot of folks from California that were college graduates.
Yeah. I don't know. I just hope it's a good game tonight. That's all I care about.
Yeah.
I do too, because it's been a really good series so far. I don't want. I was afraid when y'all filled the bases up last night, y'all are going to go be 3 or 4-0, and the game's over. Like when Texas had the errors and y'all scored a couple of runs to add on to it, I was like, there ain't a chance in hell. And then all of a sudden you look up and Texas is tying runs at bat, and I'm like, oh shit, I didn't expect that coming.
Yeah. Good luck to both teams.
Yeah, it's been a good deal.
Well paid off.
Now, how y'all had y'all's big event last month, 2 months ago?
You need to explain who he is. People don't know.
Sorry. Well, we had you on a couple weeks ago. You had your big helicopter hog hunt, big country veterans.
Yes.
Up there around Truscott. How was the event this year?
Man, it was amazing. Having such a large group of our alumni come back just to come out and participate and volunteer was amazing to see those folks come back out just because they wanted to be a part of it again. Our new alumni class this year coming out, a lot of people that hadn't seen each other. We had 2 guys that hadn't seen each other in 25 years. Didn't even know the 2 were going to be at the event, and just watching those connections and folks being able to spend that time together. It was a little rainy, and I actually think the rain was the best part of it. It gave us time just to sit around and talk and shoot the shit and watch everybody kind of come together. And then rain cleared. We got a lot of hunting in, and they broke our record, unfortunately. But I say they get an asterisk because they had 5 helicopters and we only had 3. But I think they shot something over 1,600 hogs.
Holy shit!
I heard it was crazy this year.
It was amazing. I mean, our sponsors come out and they're part of the event, which I think makes it great. A lot of times, folks don't even realize that they're intermingled with everything going on. All the support, the donors, the volunteers. It was just an amazing event. The Daniels family just opening up their ranch to us, and we're just happy to be a part of it. And we got in a little bit of trouble with people getting stuck out there. So the rain caused a little bit of a havoc for us. But other than that, I think it was an amazing event, and we're already looking forward and planning next year.
Next year they might break this record because we're on to a wet spring now, and now we're getting into a wetter summer. It's not wet, but it's wet, and pigs thrive in that. And plus, there's nobody hardly hunts them in the summertime.
Yeah, why is that? Is it because it's too hot?
You can't. It's hot for one thing.
They turn nocturnal too a lot.
Yeah.
Whenever it gets really, really hot, like they won't feed, but only at night. So, but with thermals the way they are now, I mean, you could.
There'll be some thermal guys hunting, but just not. People don't go to their deer leases in the summer, and it's just you're dealing with rattlesnakes and everything else. And then there's a canopy on the trees for the hog hunting with the helicopters because it's hard to helicopter hunt once all the trees are bloomed out. They're easier to hide. But I saw a group the other day of 150 pigs, and I hadn't seen big groups like that in a long time. That used to be common. 30 years ago out here, you'd see a lot of big groups of pigs before thermals and before helicopter hog hunting, and they were really out of control. And then the helicopter guys are really, slowed a lot of that down, but they bounce back so fast.
Yeah. I mean, they reproduce 3 times a year, right?
Yeah.
3-month gestation cycle. That's crazy.
Basically, a bunch of Democrats. They stay somewhere else. They mooch off everybody else, and they breed like crazy.
Yeah.
And I think they're sexually mature at like 9 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like you're never gonna get a handle on them. 1,600 pigs.
1,600. Yeah.
I bet the Daniels family does open their doors to y'all.
Yeah.
Just take off 1,600 pigs off of our place.
I tell you, and we have several. I wish I knew all the ranches that donated their property to mention them, but again, just as such an amazing event. We're blessed to be able to go out there and spend that time with them, and we're actually back out this weekend. We do multiple things after the hog hunt, And we've got several of our alumni that are now out with their spouses doing a couples retreat.
Oh, that's badass.
So yeah, they're out doing some cult work, whatever that means. I'm not a ranch person, but I'm assuming that's something to do with the horses. So they're out with the horses this morning. And then later this afternoon, Jerry Bob's going to take them on a tour of the Circle Bar Ranch. And then tomorrow we're going to go watch the rodeo in Haskell.
Oh, cool.
Oh, it's it's the ranch roundup, Wild Horse Prairies or whatever.
Yeah, Wild Horse Prairies.
So y'all are like a dude ranch this weekend. How old are you?
I am 54.
Okay, you're younger than me a couple years. Do you remember when we were kids though? Because you grew up in the 70s and 80s, same as me. Do you remember when dude ranches were a thing?
I do.
And people go, I don't ever hear about that no more.
Yeah, in fact, as soon as you said it, I'm like, well, I haven't heard dude ranch. And I'm like, it's like a dude ranch.
Yeah, people paid money to go work on a ranch. That's a perfect place. You get free labor. People pay you to come and do all your chores.
Yes.
That's a great thing to do right there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you think about it, it's free labor. I think maybe people caught on to that. And they're like, wait a minute, I can get paid for this instead of volunteering.
We were in Apalachicola, Florida years and years and years ago, and you could pay to go on an oyster boat and take a tour of a working oyster deal. And you could participate in the work level.
Oh.
Have you ever seen them guys get oysters? They use these big freaking rakes that go like this. They come together. They're like two rakes come together on these big old fucking poles. They stick them down on the ground and they jab them in there, and then they go like this and they break those oysters off of the barnacles and then pull them up. You want to pay $300 to go do that for 2 hours? Hell no.
No, I don't.
And people are paying money to do that. And I'm thinking the guy owning the captain of that boat's smart.
Hey, I got some work for you. I got some stuff you can come pay to do if you want. So, yeah. No, we're loving it. It's a good time. So, thanks for asking. We definitely looking forward to next year.
The husband and wife thing, I've heard of a couple of other organizations that are starting to do that now. So I think that's a market that is ripe for the tapping. Because a lot of times the wives are kind of left out of the deal, right?
Wives and family, right? You know, a lot of folks, you'll hear a lot of people in their retirement like, I got to thank my family. But if you really think about it, the family serves more than the military member. Like when I'm on deployment,
right,
I'm pretty much taken care of. Everything's provided. I don't have to worry about shit. Mm-hmm. My wife's at home trying to figure out, are the bills paid? Is the kid getting to school? Is he got it? I mean, all the stuff falls on the spouse. I shouldn't say the wife, right? We know we have men and women both, right? So we make sure but sometimes we forget about them. So a couple of years ago, one of the veterans had come out to the hog hunt and had a great experience. And as he was leaving, he was talking to Cody and he's like, man, I just don't know how to put this into words, like to explain to my family. Mm-hmm. And Cody's like, well, why don't you bring your wife out and share it with her? Yeah. And that's how the couples retreat started, was let's bring the families back out here and let them spend a weekend. Now, we don't put them up in helicopters and go hunting, right. But just that experience. So we started last night. All the couples came in. And they'll be out there through Sunday morning. And
we have a lot more wives hunt with us than they used to.
Well, I just think for like this particular event and kind of what you guys are trying to do, guys and women come home and, it might be hard for them to talk to the spouse about what they're going through, but you get other people there and it kind of opens up conversations as a way of like explaining to her without necessarily like sitting her down at home where it's awkward and like, listen, this is what I'm going through. It just kind of comes up organically.
It does. And a couple of weeks ago, we actually did a Memorial Day event in Weatherford. Mm-hmm. But we did a real Memorial Day event, right? We didn't do a barbecue. We didn't do a cookout. We did a celebration. We embraced Memorial Day for what it was for, right? Remembrance.
Yes.
So we got a small group of BCV alumni together and BCV family, had a little bit of a dinner. And at the end of the dinner, we asked any of the veterans to stand up and, share stories. And everybody kind of got up and shared the story of someone that had fallen in military service. And it's pretty powerful, but I had shared a story, and after the fact, to your point, my wife was like, I never heard that story before. Mm-hmm. So it gives you an opportunity where you've got this area that you're comfortable talking about with other folks. And sometimes you're able to get some of this stuff off your chest, and it kind of feels good. It revives you that, this person understands. Mm-hmm. And then the families can relate to that because they see the environment. So I think it's pretty powerful. And we're trying to stay in these people's lives for the rest of their life, right?
We had one of our Gold Star kids, his mom was talking to me right in here one time. And she was talking about, she found out her husband got killed overseas and going through it and how traumatic it was. But she said, I didn't really have time for me because I had kids I had to worry about.
Yeah.
And I said, it's got to be so hard juggling all the home stuff and having to be a mom and a dad both now. And she goes, that part wasn't hard. She goes, because I was already doing that. She goes, because when he's deployed, she goes, I am the mom and I am the dad and I pay the bills and I take care, like you said a minute ago. She goes, I took care of all of that stuff. She goes, that wasn't the hard part. It was the part of being there for them mourning and me not mourning. She goes, I was used to him being gone, but he was always coming back.
Right.
And that made a lot of sense. And so I think those support groups for those moms are like y'all support groups for you guys getting together. And I think y'all doing this thing gets to intertwine all that stuff.
Yeah. We think we hear good feedback from both members of the family.
I think that's a really, really, really good deal.
Is that one of the hard parts? I mean, I understand there's probably a lot of hard parts about whenever you finally retire or just whenever you're not on deployment and like you got to be annoyed with the hot water heater going out and now you got to deal with it. Yeah.
I kind of give my wife a hard time sometimes and, God bless her, but I'm like, why am I doing all this? And she'll just kind of look at me. I'm like, I got it. I know you did it by yourself. But yeah, I mean, because you are used to being separated from some of that drama. And sometimes you don't realize, and I'm guilty of this, that she did all of that. Right. And there's things that a lot of times she wouldn't tell me on deployment because you know what? There's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
So when you get home, I'll let you know that we had to replace the back of the house because, it caught on fire. I don't know, whatever. But yeah, it's you're exposed to all this stuff. And we're used to having this really cool network. Mm-hmm. We don't have it anymore. So yeah, I think all of those things compound on how do I adjust and live after military service and
right.
So yeah, I definitely am happy we're supporting the families, but helping them adjust in the long term is our goal, kind of at BCV.
Yeah, because that's always like with hunting season here, it's 7 days a week, and for those couple months, like my wife just does everything. She takes kids to school, feeds them the couple. They have a lot of meals out here, but it's like I'm kind of separated from everything, and then like everything out here is taken care of. I don't have to worry about cooking. I don't have to worry about cleaning up anything. And my hours are so shitty. It's 3:30 in the morning until 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night. So whenever I get home, have a little bit of family time and then go to sleep, and then it's rinse and repeat. And then like when hunting season stops, and now I've got to go lay flooring or something in the laundry room, it's like, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Why do I need to do this? And then, so sometimes just that look from my wife, I retract that question. Like, I got it. I know what I'm doing. So I'm glad there's other organizations that are recognizing the families, but that's something that we wanted to, bring into what we're doing. So,
okay. Yeah. I want to change it up a little bit. I've watched the show Lioness on Netflix.
Okay.
Or Prime. I don't know if you've seen it. It's
I have not seen it yet.
Taylor Sheridan does it.
Okay.
It's a very good series. People like you, guys like you, soldiers like you, probably do not enjoy shows like that because you've lived the life and you can see through the bullshit of those shows. But this lady, I'll give you a background on it.
Okay.
Was raised in a shitty environment in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It don't matter where she is. But she had nobody, basically. Hey, you've seen the show, right, Andy? Okay. Anyways, and they put her in a CIA program to make her a trained assassin.
All right.
And she was already a badass college. She'd played college sports and stuff. She was an athlete. She was headstrong, typical woman. But what they did was they have a program where they take people and they put them in the lives. Like they made her to be a rich Saudi Arabian daughter of some fake guy, mullah or something, to get her to be friends with some guy that's in Iran that's a terrorist.
Okay.
They want to get her close to her daughter so she becomes friends with her daughter, gets to be in the inner circle, then want her to kill the dad. And then one of the other programs, they wanted to get inside of a Mexican drug cartel, get them to be friends with the daughter or the wife or something, befriend her so you get to go around the house and stuff.
Okay.
You was in the Black Ops stuff. Is that safe to say?
Yes.
Did they have programs like that? Is that all TV?
Kind
of like a lone wolf type deal.
Yeah. So they're, I've been retired 10 years or just coming up on 10 years next year. And, I want to, those are, I think there's probably some realism that those are based off of. I think a lot of the ways that either the government agencies, the military, or even law enforcement go about some of these Singleton programs probably is a little sensitive. Do I believe it happens? Absolutely. I think it makes sense. firsthand knowledge of that type of specific program, I don't have. But I would say that I would feel comfortable saying there's probably programs out there like that.
When you were overseas in all these deployments, do you deal with the CIA a bunch or guys that you knew were CIA?
Yeah. Well, some of them you knew were the CIA. Some of them wouldn't tell you, but you could figure it out pretty quickly. Both in the military and then time at Department of State, dealt with agency individuals. A lot of the stuff we did on deployment, we were co-located, right? So we shared, intelligence, we shared logistics. Obviously, there are rules of what we can do versus what they can do, but we actually spent a lot of time working very closely with a lot of the government agencies overseas. Believe it or not, FBI, right?
Oh, really?
Because of their law enforcement expertise, there were certain situations where you'd run into FBI folks, U.S. Marshals overseas, that were there to extradite or from a U.S. legal perspective, arrest somebody that made it legal, all the Miranda rights and everything. I don't understand that. I'm not a law enforcement officer, but we absolutely rubbed elbows with those guys. And a lot of my friends, that's kind of where we progressed to when he retired. Is that was almost a normal progression. Go work for, one of the government agencies at the end and kind of do the same thing you were doing while you're on active duty.
But paid better.
It depends. Medics always made really good money, pretty good day rates as a contractor. So you could make a couple $100,000 a year working 6 months out of the year. Or if you were an actual GS employee or government employee, probably didn't make as much money, but some of the benefits were better. You were paid throughout the year. You didn't have to deal with all the contracting piece. But it was the same damn job, right? Like it's the same thing I was doing. I mean, I went from being deployed in Mogadishu with the military to being deployed to Mogadishu with the government. And I'm literally a building over waving at people that I used to be on active duty with. And they're like, what the fuck are you doing here? I'm like, oh, well, I'm with Department of State now. And like, are you really with Department of State? Like today I am, right? So yeah, all of those, under the right codes, all those agencies are interconnected overseas.
Is the CIA the lead dog on stuff like that when you're doing stuff, or because when you watch TV shows, CIA comes in and everybody's got to go and everybody's pissed off because they can do whatever the CIA does. And unfortunately, we're in a place in America where nobody really trusts the CIA no more. Yeah.
So here's what I'll tell you. Every exposure that I've had to individuals at that agency were outstanding. There wasn't a point where someone was, hey, my dick's bigger than yours, like get out of the room. It was a mutual working relationship. I'll tell you that there were probably some areas of expertise based on experience that might have caused some conflict between a dude on the ground and maybe somebody making a decision on what should happen. But other than that, we got a lot of support from them. We supported them when we had to. I never had a bad experience with another government agencies overseas. What happens here in the States, obviously there's some differences to that, but I never had a bad experience. I have great friends that were at the agency or still at the agency and doing good work. And I'm happy they're doing it because somebody needs to do it. But I didn't run into any of those situations that sometimes I hear about on, they're all fucked up and they kind of come in and they flash the badges and everybody needs to leave. We were more of a mutual working relationship.
On the Bin Laden documentary, that was the ladies that got killed. They were CIA agents, weren't they? The ones they bring the guy in to interrogate him, and
they weren't going to. He said he was going to spill the beans on everything,
and he blew everybody up.
They didn't search him or whatever, and he had a bomb strapped to him.
Yeah,
I think that was CIA. I think it was CIA black site, whatever that is.
Yeah. So I haven't watched the documentary yet.
Yeah,
I've heard about it. Heard it was good. And I think there's probably, during that time frame. So again, I haven't seen it. During that time frame, there was a couple of multiple events going on. But I remember I watched pieces of was it Zero Dark 30?
Yeah.
And the gentleman, they were bringing him into the gate, and they had detonated himself on the gate. So I was actually deployed during that time period. I don't remember that going down that way. Mm-hmm. So I think there might be some protective measures that they've changed the environment that particular event happened. I remember that event happening actually inside of a building with the individual that detonated themselves. And I don't know that they were being escorted by somebody. So I haven't watched it yet, so I'm not quite sure how it lines out. But that was something I noticed in the movie. I'm like, I was over there during that time frame. I remember everybody was talking about the explosion at the time, right? It went all over country like, hey, this just happened. But I'm like, it wasn't at the front gate like it was in the movie. But to me, I'm like, they probably...
In the documentary, it's not in the front gate.
Okay.
In Zero Dark 30, it was. In the deal, they go through 2 or 3 security checks, and they pull up. And so the CIA ladies, they all come to the car.
Okay.
And when they get there, boom, in the back of a compound somewhere, or a dark side or whatever. But it wasn't inside that it did it, but it was at the car. But it went through the first gate, then went through like a second gate, and this went to the very back.
Okay. That is more realistic.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Yes.
And those were all CIA people that were there. So I'm assuming that lady was in charge of that operation, or she was the ground person in charge.
Do they say the base?
I'm sure they probably
Hey, yeah,
did.
we just pull it up
Because basically, in the documentary, the way that they framed it was we wanted him to feel welcome to share the information, and they didn't want to scare him away by having this big checkpoint at the gate and then maybe potentially ruin their interview with him. As far as like having him shut down is the way I think that it was framed in the documentary.
They were trying to find the courier, if I'm not right, and supposedly he knew the name of the courier, who was KJ. Is it KJM?
Yeah, carrying the money to...
It's just the one that was coming to see Obama, or Osama, not Obama. Osama bin Laden, same thing.
I do that all the time. Sorry, President Obama. Yeah.
But going to the same, but that's what, I think that's, if I remember right, they thought he was the one that was finally going to break open who this courier was.
Okay.
Or not courier, what did they call it? Is it KSM or K?
They already had him at the time.
What was his,
I can't remember.
They didn't remember who he was. It wasn't the courier. Was it the Falcon or something? He had a name for something. They couldn't
but I thought he was a carrier.
Yeah, but he was the one that knew the courier they figured out from him that he gave to the deal. But I think this guy here, they thought they was going to get this information from.
Okay.
It says Camp Chapman in Coast, Afghanistan.
Okay, so in Coast, all right. So most bases, this is kind of, in general, you have your base perimeter. And then once you go inside of that, it's not like going into a military base in the U.S. where then you can just kind of drive wherever you need to go. Each military organization or unit or section will have their own internal base. So you go onto Coast, and let's say you're going to go into the Marine Corps side, you may go over to their camp, and then to get inside of their camp, you're going to go through another checkpoint. And then SOCOM, is no different, right? We're going to have our own compound on side of a compound inside of a compound. So the fact that they went through multiple checkpoints makes sense. Usually you have your own entrance, but every once in a while, you'll have to go through all the other ones. Like I remember being overseas and we have to pull up to the gate, and the base had a no weapons loaded policy. And I'm like, we're in fucking Iraq.
Yeah.
But you'd have to sit at the gate and download your weapons before you drive through the fucking gate. And I'm like, this is the stupidest thing on the planet. And you got some 19-year-old Army MP standing there going, hey, take your shit out of your weapon. I'm like, dude, you're the person that probably needs to take your shit out of your weapon. So the checkpoints make sense. The way that we had heard it and the way I remember it on deployment, they were actually inside of a building when the individual detonated himself. I'll tell you that a lot of those internal, I don't know if I would classify them as a black site, because most people know
that's there.
Hey, that's all the government agencies are on that compound.
Right.
Sometimes we shared that compound with them. They would have their side. We would have our side with the skiffs. Collaborate, but we pretty much had our own pieces. So when we had heard about it, we had heard they were actually in a building.
And they might have been.
Yeah, and I'm almost 100% positive they were probably agency individuals.
Yeah.
It
said 7 CIA agents were killed in the blast and 1 Jordanian nationalist.
Yep.
So So let me ask you this: the part of the documentary that I had a hard time with was several CIA agents had a hard time with the enhanced interrogation methods.
Okay.
I just feel like look at what these people are responsible for. Like, you're telling me a little bit of waterboarding is too much for them to handle.
You think that was more TV than them just trying to make themselves look normal? Because I can't imagine being at that level of a CIA your feelings are hurt because we got a guy that's trying to kill everybody in the world and try to kill you, and you feel bad because he's withholding information.
Yeah, I mean,
and so it's two parts to that question. How do you enhance interrogation, and do you think that enhanced interrogation works based on the fact that if you torture people enough, they're gonna say something to make you stop, whether it's true or not, right? Like that is a possibility.
Yep.
So how did you go take it from there?
Okay, so I am not certified. It's going to be very in enhanced interrogation techniques.
Yeah.
However, I'm actually a certified interrogator. So I went through I think it was a 14, 15-week course to learn how to interrogate. There's several different from, being nice to, being mean, good cop, bad cop, right? So there's all these different approaches that you can take to an interrogation. Everything that was explained to us was the advanced stuff was probably not beneficial because of the point you made. Most people at that level, once you put them in that position, they're going to tell you whatever that they think you want to hear to stop. So everything that we did was based on building rapport, aligning them to, false flag, whatever I think you can Google all these different approaches.
Right.
I don't give a fuck. I'm not really certified in that shit anymore anyway. And I'm sure they've updated it, but we had all these different approaches. Physical touching and all that stuff was not something that I got certified in. I was never been exposed to it. Done a lot of interrogating, especially on target site. Like that was primary responsibility I had. Hey, who else can we go fucking chase down tonight since we're already here? But I think there's probably two sides of it. And, Jeff, I think there are people out there that get in them levels, but still have that ethical, moral, I don't think
shocks
we should,
me.
And it's utilitarianism, right? The greatest good for the greatest amount. Like, is it, if I can hurt this person and save $1 million, does that make hurting this person right? And some people don't agree with that. Other people, it's just like, sometimes I talk to folks and they're like, stealing's bad. I'm like, have you ever taken a piece of paper or a pen home from work? Well, yeah, all the time. I'm like, well, that's fucking stealing.
Yeah.
But they're like, well, no, it's not. I'm talking like big stuff. I'm like, well, if you're at a company of 100,000 employees and every fucking person takes a piece of paper home,
yeah,
what does 15 pallets of paper cost?
Right.
Like that company. So, I think it's all perspective. And I think you still run into that regardless of where you're at.
I think
at any level.
Pulling some toenails out, get some talking done.
Hey, listen, I love this country, and maybe I'll rot in hell for this, but if there's a threat, and I know that there's someone that that could benefit from this by unfortunately causing a little pain and suffering on somebody, I support that. Like I unfortunately, that's my personal opinion. Is like, hey, if I can save someone, I'm willing to risk someone. Right? We do it every day. It's funny. I just was, as you were mentioning that, I was thinking about something. So when I moved from, I guess you call the kind of the white side of SOF into the other side of SOF, I had to do an interview with one of the programs I was screening for, and one of the questions, I didn't know at the time, but the dude was one of the command surgeons, and so I'm in this board, and the one thing I remember is I'm talking, and I talk with my hands sometimes, and this sergeant major running the board's like, "Fucking stop moving your hands, doc." And I'm like, "Shit!" I'm like, "Okay, we just got to an aggressive board, right?" But he asked me this question. He goes, "Hey, so let's say you had medication that could help someone with pain." And I'm like, "Okay, but if you gave them more medication, it could also make them tell the truth, but it's probably going to kill them. And let's say you guys capture this person and your team leader tells you, 'Hey, doc, I need you to juice this guy up so he can tell us where the hostages are, and then he's probably going to die. And he's injured. So, you have to think about the Hippocratic Oath and I won't do no harm. What is your decision? Are you going to juice him up or are you going to not?'" And I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, this is going to be a fucking fun conversation. So on one side, I'm like, well, I'm supposed to be the medic, right? Like I can't. But then on the other side, if we're here to save somebody, what's my mission?
Right.
So, I would, at that point, right, I'd have to put on my operator hat and say, hey, let's juice you up. And if I can then survive, keep you alive after the fact, great. But if not, that's, a chance that I'm willing to take. So I thought it was an interesting question. I don't know what drug that would be, but we wound up getting into this heated debate after that. And
You and this guy did?
Yeah, me and this, and I still didn't know he was a doctor till after the fact. Luckily, I passed everything, and I got to meet him later, and he came walking up, and I'm like, this fucking dude. And he's like, hey, how you doing? And I was like, he's like, I'm one of the command surgeons. I'm like, holy shit. Like, I was like, that's a fucking bullshit question. He's like, well, we want to get you in an uncomfortable position. He's like, we want to have that conversation.
What's the difference between you giving a guy ketamine and he tells you that they're fixing to put a nuclear bomb in Fenway Park?
Yep.
And he tells you that. Well, you saved a bunch of people's lives.
Absolutely.
What's the difference between that and him coming at you and you fucking shooting and putting a bullet between his eyes?
Well, once
Dead's dead.
Once he's no longer a threat, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what it comes down to, right? Like hostile intent.
Yeah.
Can I positively identify? If I've got him in my control, at that point, does he present a threat to me? He doesn't, right? And if he's injured, he then becomes my patient. And that's something that I used to ask our lawyers all the time when I deployed. I'm like, hey, at what point do I have to take off a shooting hat and put on a medic hat? Like if I enter a room and I put 2 rounds in a guy and he's still laying on the floor moaning and there's still threats.
Yeah.
Do I have to stop and treat him, or would that be considered, like if it's one of my guys, right? And again, these are my personal thoughts, and there's probably a lot of medics and corpsmen out there that are like, you're a medic. But, I'm not going to stop for, an enemy combatant that might be still injured. But now if it was one of my guys, it's a completely different conversation.
Of course it is. Yeah.
But I would always ask the lawyers that, and they'd always give me that, well, it depends. And I'm like, okay, well.
That's our problem in our world. Too much of that depends shit.
Yeah.
Common sense tells you shoot some guy that's a bad guy. I don't think you should have to give him, unless you can get some info off of him.
Yeah.
Let him bleed out. It don't matter. I don't understand. And I've got a black card on this, and I'm not very liberal. But there's some things I'm liberal about. I don't want to see a kid hungry. There's a lot of things socially that I think we could do better as a country.
Yeah. But
I don't understand this Narcan shit. If these fuckers want to keep killing themselves and try to do that shit, why are we spending all this money and time saving their lives? I dealt with a lady that tried to off herself 3 or 4 different times, and we flew her out in a helicopter 3 or 4 nights in a row one time. What the hell are we doing here?
Yeah.
We're wasting all this taxpayer money. She doesn't want to be here.
Yeah.
Why do we keep doing this? So I don't understand the Narcan, because I have guys in here that are paramedics in big cities, and they'll be like, we saved the same guy 3 times in a week sometimes.
Yeah.
That's bullshit. Let him go.
Yeah.
Now, that makes me bad for thinking that way, but I really don't. What would we do if we didn't have Narcan? He'd be dead.
I mean, and now you can get it for free.
Yeah.
You get it in, they give it away.
Stores.
Everybody carries it,
How much I understand with this fentanyl deal, you could accidentally get exposed to it.
And absolutely, I mean, to me, that's where having access, law enforcement,
Yes.
EMS, the folks that get accidentally exposed to it. But yeah, I mean, if someone's continuously shooting up with opioids or, whatever.
How many people in your circle are doing that? Because none in mine.
I've never met one.
None.
I mean,
how many times have you said have you ever been to a party? You've been all over the place.
Sure.
You've been to hookah lounges. You've been a lot of places. How many times have you ever had somebody come up to you and give you a meth pipe and say, hey, take a hit of that?
Never.
I'm telling you.
I don't even know what fucking meth looks like.
Yeah,
Right?
That's what I'm saying. Though it's not hard to not be exposed to that shit.
Yeah. So, I think the Narcan thing is, again, it's like death in your fucking diesel, right? The minute they start charging for it, or there's a monetary aspect to it, there's no fucking good to it. It's just somebody trying to line their fucking pockets.
Yeah. Right. And Narcan has done a lot of wonders and saved a lot of innocent people. But we're also saying the same meth head over and over and over and over and over and over again. If he wants to do that and wants to die, let him go.
Well, maybe 3rd time's a charm.
Yeah, it just blows my mind. I would like to know the percentages of people that have been saved by Narcan that get their shit straight after that, because usually they're pissed off at the people for robbing them of their high.
That's when I was going through paramedic training and we were learning about all that. That's like one of the first things that our instructors told us is like, hey, when we hit the streets of New York, you're going to reverse this agent on these guys, and they're going to wake up and they're going to be pissed. Like, hey, you fucked up my high. And it's like, but I'm trying to save your life.
Right.
So to your point, it's like, well, then why do it? And I think as a medic, it pulls on my heartstrings a little bit, because I went into this trying to save and help people. Where's that line? Where's the line on, okay, maybe you're at a point that you're not salvageable anymore. I don't know where that line is, but the Narcan thing, to me, watching the government spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on it to make sure everybody has access to it. And I mean, I walk through campus and it's in, break glass boxes next to
really?
next to the AED.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how many hundreds of thousands of dollars is Narcan getting? Because it's only Narcan, right? Or it's the brand name. So the FDA only approved like,
that's
however
a
they
lobbyist
did
deal.
it. Yeah, it's like you can't just go out and buy
A generic Narcan.
I can't remember exactly what it is, or it's got to be Naloxone. I can't remember how they did it, but to me, it's just like, I don't know. I mean, some people make decisions. I guess they're good intended, but then once the general population gets a hold of it,
Right.
it kind of fucks it up.
You know, I had never thought about that until you said it about being a medic. And when do you switch the hat from gunner to, when do you switch the mode from life taking to life saving?
Yeah.
When it's an enemy.
It's tough. Actually, this is a huge debate within, well, in my perspective, it's a huge debate within special operations because there's this question, right? Like, am I a shooter first or a medic first?
Right.
And some of our guys within our special operations IDC community, I think, I'm safe saying this, most of us, probably the large percentage of us, felt we were medics first, operators second. While I've got other friends that served in different branches that were like, well, I'm an operator that just happens to have medical training. So perspective. And it really comes down to the individual medic on when that hat changes. For me, the minute I have a buddy down, I'm a medic.
Mm-hmm.
If we are actively engaged in combat and there's hundreds of injured enemy, I'm not a medic until the threat is gone, until one of my guys is hit. Now that's when I change my hat. There may be other guys like, hey, the minute I see someone that is no longer a threat that's bleeding, I'm going to become a medic. So I think a lot of folks struggle with that. And I think for some guys, it's like, hey, I'm going to consider myself a shooter.
Mm-hmm.
And then when shooting's done, I'll be a medic.
Right.
So I think it's tough. They don't really teach you that. You know, we went back and forth for fucking years on the whole Geneva Convention.
Yeah.
And if and we've read through this thing, and there's probably lawyers that might listen to this and be like, oh, you're fucking wrong. I got it. But, can medics carry weapons in combat? Well, if you're acting as a combatant, brother, you are a fucking combatant. Now, if I move into an area where I'm flying the Red Cross, I'm a clinic, the Red Crescent, and we're presenting ourselves as a complete medical entity, that's protected by the Geneva Convention, right? Typically, the medic running with the fucking dudes, they're going to get shot just as much as the dudes. So I always struggle with that. So I think everybody has their own little bit of take on it. I think there's some gray area when it comes to legality. Lawyers can answer that better than me, but that was one I always struggled with. Like, at what point do you fucking swap that hat? And that's kind of where I drew the line.
Yeah. When did medics start carrying weapons? And like, this could be Hollywood. I watched Saving Private Ryan on the flight home from Disney World last week, and their medic did not. He was just a medic.
Yeah.
And that might have been Hollywood.
I see that all the fucking time. Like, so look, I joined in 1989, and when I went through field medical service school training, which takes a Navy hospital corpsman and trains us to work with the Marines, we carried weapons in that course. And it was always kind of under the guidance like, hey, your weapons really are to protect you and your patient. And I'm like, okay, well, protecting me is returning fire if someone's shooting at me, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to interpret that how I want to interpret it. From that point forward, whether I was serving with the Marine Corps, Force Recon, MARSOC, Naval Special Warfare, I never saw a medic that didn't have the same armament as their team. Now, with that said, when I would go into country with a clinic or a hospital or a forward surgical team, those medics, physicians were not armed, yet they had a wall of security around them. So I think it goes back, if you're a combatant unit, you should have combatant tools. If you're a non-combatant unit, you probably shouldn't have combatant tools.
Right.
So I've never experienced the you can't carry a weapon. You'd have Marines joke all the time, like, why does Doc have an M16? I'm like, well, if I'm going the same place you are, I'm going to have the same gun you have, right? Like, I always carried an M16 with a 203 on it, right? Like, I was like, hey, I want to reach out and touch somebody. Like, keep them far enough away that I don't have to worry about, accuracy. I can just, shoot a 203 round and, blow them up.
Right. Now, when you're working with the special forces, and how does your training, like, when y'all are getting ready to gear up for a mission, and I want to get into like how all that works later, because you were with DevGru. Like when y'all are working up for a mission, where are you like in the stack? You know what I mean? Like in the training of everything.
Okay. And so again, it depends a little bit. I will tell you with the Marine Corps, Force Recon, we really fall into our lane as we carry all the medical stuff, right? So the medical annex, the medical evacuation plan. A lot of us will also help do all the route planning. Mm-hmm. So we'll set all the routes because we also know like all the evac. So we'll help with infill and exfil. I had gotten to a point where I was actually in a platoon at Naval Special Clearance Team 1 where I wasn't the medic. I was actually the LPO. So I had a medic, and then I just relied on them to do all that. So my focus was platoon operations. Mm-hmm. So each team's a little bit different. I'm laughing a little bit. I've got some of my guys that work for me through the years, and they really became part of their team. Like almost to the point I'm like, I had to remind them, hey, fuckhead, you're the medic. Like, where's your med bag? And they're like, oh, yeah, I better carry that with me. Why are you chasing a dude down the street, trying to, detain him while your team's sitting back laughing at you? Like, that's not your job. So I think, again, every medic kind of, fits it a little bit differently. As you progress up, when you get into more of the higher levels of SOCOM, it becomes very definitive. Typically, special operations medics, whether you're a SEAL, whether you're Special Forces, or whether you're an SOIDC, at your kind of higher level Tier 1 organizations, you are a medic. You're not an operator. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people get that confused because they're like, well, when you were with MARSOC, or Force Recon, you were just another dude in the team. Well, there's a different selection and training program to move into those higher levels. And that's where we have to make a decision to part ways. Mm-hmm. I have an option to either give up the medicine piece and be an operator, or I can stick to the medicine piece and do the medical piece for that team. They still rely on you to do stuff because most of them you worked with in the past. So you'll do route planning, you'll help with, training. I always got stuck with, if we had an augment or somebody working with us, like, hey, Mike, make sure that guy's got all their shit there, for the mission. I'm like, so you did different pieces of it, but really your focus was the health of the team. And then, all right, if someone gets shot, what's the most, efficient and effective that to get them off the X into safety and then back to bright lights and cold steel. Like that was our primary focus.
So back to like Saving Private Ryan, I couldn't imagine how much stuff those medics had to, like today's D-Day, as a matter of fact, talking to it.
Yeah, that's right.
June 6th. Like there's no way that you could have carried enough stuff as a medic to treat everybody that was on the beach that day.
No. Especially in World War II, because you didn't even have, they didn't have nothing really.
They had gauze and morphine probably.
Morphine was like morphine and tourniquets. Right?
That was all they had.
That's it. And we've progressed, right? So all of my guys carried their own medic kit. And inside that kit, we had everything that at the time data told us would save a life-threatening injury. So every dude had life-saving medical equipment on them. And that's what I burnt through first, go through their stuff. And that was part of my checks, making sure that, their kits were actually serviceable and they hadn't ripped open and been flooded with salt water. Mm-hmm. And if they did, swap them out. Tourniquets, dudes would wear the same tourniquet, multiple deployments back to back, and he'd pull it apart and it's just like dust. And I'm like, bro, you got to swap this out.
What kind of drugs did y'all carry with y'all? Did y'all carry fentanyl and morphine?
We did. We carried, so I got to give it to the Army Special Forces, right? Like I'm extremely proud that I was able to attend their Special Forces Medical Sergeant course. It is, and I don't think this is opinion, I think this is fact, it is the premier Special Operations Medical course on the planet. NATO wants to mirror it. Everybody wants to mirror it. Those guys, through all their years of experience, have built those programs. And as an enlisted member, you learn all the medications. We're the only enlisted folks that get taught actual surgical procedures, anesthesia. So I can put somebody on an anesthetic plane, and we carry all those drugs so that we can manage severe traumatic injuries on site and have a better chance of getting this person home. And so we carried the full complement. And I'm not sure what they're carrying today. My buddies listen to this are like, damn, Grohman, you dated yourself. I know, I think back to some of our diazepam, and now they're rolling with midazolam, right? Because it's a better drug. And I'll say diazepam. People are like, man, you just dated yourself. But fentanyl, ketamine, both injections and lollipops, diazepam, morphine, Ultram. I mean, we carried it all. All of it.
On a situation like in America, you can't go to a hospital now if everything's under 27 locks and keys.
Yep.
When you're on the combat, you don't have time for that shit. So you've got a bag you carry.
Yeah.
And your other guys have got one too.
Yep.
And if something happens, you go to bag. You ain't got to worry about filling out no freaking paperwork and shit. You're there to save his life. I'm sure the paperwork comes later.
And when it comes, I've always said this throughout my career: money and narcotics. Don't fuck with them, right? So all of my dudes have their own fentanyl lollipop, right? And at first we thought that was just the greatest thing in the world. And then I walk in a fucking team room one day, one of my guys sucking on his lollipop. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, oh, damn, Doc, I threw my knee out at the gym. So I was like, bro, you can't, that's for trauma, pain. So
how does
pros and cons.
So how does a fentanyl lollipop, so is it, I guess it's an automatic pain reliever for your whole body, reliever?
Yeah. So, fentanyl in general is a analgesic. And make sure I get all my drug classes right. My doc buddies will fucking throw me under the bus.
Yeah.
So analgesic, central nervous system analgesic. So it's going to disconnect those pain receptors. And it's really, really good at its fucking job.
Everybody thinks it's just this horrible thing, but it's a great drug. It's a great drug. It's just got to be used right.
Right. Well, it's just like everything, right? Fucking my Mercedes AMG is a great car, but if you drive it fucking 500 miles an hour into a brick wall, it's going to kill you. Right. Like you have to be able to know your tool, use your tool. So fentanyl is an amazing medication. Ketamine. A lot of people think ketamine's a pain medication. It's actually not. It's a dissociative, right? So the cool thing about ketamine is you're probably feeling pain in surgery. You're just not fucking remembering it. That's why ketamine's a date rape drug. It doesn't take the pain away. It just makes you forget what the fuck is going on.
Right.
So we combine these things, right? They have these synergistic effects. So I take fentanyl, I take ketamine, and I give it to this person, and then I give them a little diazepam as a muscle relaxant. So I relax them, I control their pain, and then I disassociate them. A lot of studies have shown that early ketamine use on a trauma patient overseas decreases the potential of operator syndrome because they forget and they disconnect themselves from that. But if you overdose on ketamine, you're going to kill yourself. Right? It's the same. The drugs are great medications. Are they addictive? Absolutely. But I'm treating someone in a 15, 20 minute, maybe an hour, 2 hour window. And then I'm going to pass them off to a facility that are going to take them to surgery. They're going to fix them. And then hopefully they titrate them off of those opioids. But where I think we've gotten ourselves into trouble is we continue to prescribe them because it's about fucking money, right? If you pay for these drugs. But the drugs are great. I've seen them work. Missing legs, missing arms, people in excruciating pain, that I'm able to give them a very small amount of a medication and they relax and they're like, okay, and make it through the process because of that drug.
Dude, I'm gonna just switch it up just a minute. We'll come back to this, but just curious because you said money a minute ago.
Yep.
I've always heard Navy SEALs carry 10 or 15,000 U.S. currency on them at all time. Is that bullshit or is that pretty true?
Okay, so and I'm going to say, so individually, when we were talking about Rolexes earlier. When I joined the Navy, everybody was like, man, if you go to BUD/S and become a SEAL, they're going to give you a Rolex in case you're on deployment and you get captured, you can give them your Rolex. And I was like, well, fuck, man, I'm on a Rolex. Like, I'm going to go to BUD/S. I didn't, but we have op funds that we use. Does every operator carry cash? Yes. Is it $15,000? I don't know. I carried about $500 in U.S. currency.
That's a long way from 15,000.
Right.
But that goes a long way in a foreign country.
Now, with that, I had a op fund that was much larger than 15,000, and I had guidance on what I could spend it on. So, for example, we had probably $150,000 in an op fund. If I needed to go down to the local helicopter rental place and give them $30,000 so I could get a helicopter to fly a guy out, I had the ability to do that. So there are operational funds out there for different things. All of them are usually pre-approved, and the team leader of the team usually has the authority to sign for them. So I would go to my team leader like, hey, I'm going to go buy a bunch of blankets to put in our, he'd fucking sign, give me op funds. I go down and do it. So we do carry cash. I wouldn't carry $15,000 of cash. I mean, fuck, your buddy next to you might be like, hey, I'm going to go play poker tonight. But all dudes, I think across all branches of service and SOF will carry cash based on the fact that you might need that to get the fuck out of a country.
Let's say you've got Muhammad, the carpet guy down there, and he knows something you need to know. Are y'all allowed to give him cash to get the information from him, or is that a?
Yeah, so you'll have op orders that can be part of the process. Give them cash. Hey, we'll pay you. Typically, you'll have. I've seen pay agents that'll travel with groups, and then you'll kind of turn them over to the pay agent, and they'll kind of talk to him. The next thing you know, you got all the information that you need. So, but there are those things happen. Like you were able to, money talks over there.
Yeah, and the U.S. currency is what it is,
and everybody takes fucking the American dollar.
That's what's always funny. Everybody's like, bitches locally, lately, all the foreigners are like, oh, America's crashing. The American dollar is no good. Well, I promise you right now, if Obama sent $7 billion in cash to Iraq or Iran, whatever he did in the middle of the night, he didn't send it in something but American currency, most of it. Yeah, they wanted American currency.
I'm going to Costa Rica next week, and I'll have American currency on me.
Yeah.
And that will,
it's just everybody will take. Yeah.
I mean, nobody's going to turn me away at the door.
Nobody's ever told me they wouldn't take my American dollar.
I got a friend of mine that was in the, and he listens to this. I'm not going to use his name because he'd kill me because I'm not supposed to tell this story, but I can tell the story without his name. He was in South America and got in a bad spot. He has a credit card on him that has gold in it, and it's worth $2,500 or something, and it's an ounce of gold, whatever. So $3,300 now, but it's a credit card, but it's got a little ounce of gold in it. Yeah. And he said that saved his life, got him home.
Yeah.
He said there was a guy that had an old Cessna airplane, and he gave that credit card to that guy with that gold on it, and that guy flew his ass out. He said, I didn't have nothing left. It was all I had.
Yeah.
But he said, I kept it just for an emergency. And he goes, I don't know if that plane ride would have cost me $1,000, $500, or $1,800.
What's your life
or
worth?
$50,000. But that gold got him home. Same as American cash. If it had American cash, you're taking that shit.
Yeah.
You can always, them foreign countries always can get rid of that American cash.
Oh yeah. I mean, I kind of fought back. We had to get certified as a fucking credit card or a purchasing officer. I can't remember and I'm like, why the fuck do I need to do this? And my boss was basically like, hey, I'm going to give you money and you're going to have to go overseas and you're going to have to spend that money, but you are accountable for how that money's spent and doing the paperwork on where that money went, because you might have $100,000, $50,000 in op funds because you're going to go spend the next 6 months in fucking Somalia. And if you need to spend it, you're going to spend it, but you have your contracting officer qualification so that you can account and spend, and then someone in your team will be your approval so that you guys have that checks and balances. So, I mean, nothing surprises me anymore on some of the creative things we've done. I'm probably getting in trouble for this, but we have these, they're called blood chits, right? It's a fucking piece of paper, it's laminated, and it's written in several different languages. And we call them blood chits. I'm sure other groups might have it.
Called blood what?
A blood chit.
Chit,
like CHIT, chit.
So shit with a C.
Yeah. Shit with a C. And it's multiple languages. It starts off in English, and then predominantly in the area of your operation it's written in. And basically it explains to someone like, hey, I'm a U.S. service member. I've been detached from my folks. I'm on some type of emergency, evading program, and I need to get to, a safe place. And if you help me, I'm going to give you this fucking piece of paper, this corner, which has a serial number on it. I'm going to give that to you, and the U.S. government's going to give you $25,000 or $250,000. I don't know what the fucking number is. I can read it right off my fucking plaque. But I wound up somehow, when I retired, I'm going through my shit, and I had one of these old blood chits, and they're fucking serialized. So now I'm like 10 years later, I'm like, nobody's fucking looking for that thing. But I also found my beacon. So I finally got it framed, and I was getting it framed, and the lady calls me, and she's like, do you want to be able to see both sides of this? I was like, fuck yeah, I do. So now I can flip my frame around and you can see both sides of the bloodshed. So there's all types of processes in place that if for some reason shit goes south, you've got a process or a plan to get back to a friendly line, so that you don't end up in some, like some of our brothers in, Black Hawk Down, right? In the streets of Somalia, like that. The goal was not to have an American soldier go through that process.
Do you, this is a really dumb question, but I've always wondered about this. Like when you're deployed and you're on a base in wherever it's at, in somewhere shithole in the Middle East.
Yep.
Do you ever bust out your own American Express and buy coffee or something anywhere?
Fuck no.
So you don't do anything.
No.
You don't go any stores. You don't do shit.
Cash.
But you do go in local stores and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So you'll just go shop and just with your buddies park the Humvee outside and go in and get you a snack if you want to or something.
Yeah.
Or do you not do shit like that?
Oh fuck no. I can't remember where we were at. I'm gonna fuck this up, but we had come out of the front line. We were doing some shit. We had to go from one base to another base. And we rolling in our Humvees, soft-sided Humvees at the time. We fucking stopped at McDonald's. I mean, I'll never forget to this day. Like our whole fucking platoon stopped. We went and fucked McDonald's and ate cash. We paid cash.
The locals look at you like you were crazy?
Fuck no.
No.
They give two shits less. I mean, you got the men's side and the woman's side, but they give two shits left. They, you walked in, they looked at you once, and the record didn't scratch. Nobody stopped living. Everybody's kind of looked and walked up to the counter. Point at menu. I'm like, I'll take a fucking Big Mac.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Does the Big Mac taste like American Big Mac?
Tastes just like a fucking American Big Mac. Every McDonald's I've been to on this planet tastes exactly like a McDonald's in the United States.
That's the secret
That
to
is
McDonald's.
their secret sauce. And I love that about
They
McDonald's.
want everyone to taste the exact same.
And cold Coca-Cola.
Love Coca-Cola. I mean, everywhere I've been on the planet, I can get that's home. Like
Yeah.
people don't understand that. My wife gives me shit all the time. Like, how are you going to go to McDonald's? I'm like, because that's America. Like if I'm in a foreign country and I see fucking golden arches, I mean, look, I went to Czech Republic at the end of my tour, in my career. I was working in some, really cool programs, and we went to Czech Republic to do some work. And I literally, the day we landed, I'm checking into my hotel. I see fucking golden arches. I walk over, eat, and my guy's like, "Why the fuck are you?" I'm like, "Because it's home, man.
It's comfort food.
It's home. Yeah, it's comfort food."
Are the women as pretty in the Czech as they say they are?
And I'll tell you what, if my wife listens to this, I'm probably going to get in trouble because I got a beautiful wife. But look, I'll tell you what, there's some beautiful women around the world.
Yeah, every country's got pretty women and they got ugly women.
I don't think I've been to a country that I'm like, wow, man, every woman, is ugly. I think every country's got, good looking people.
They just got regions. Like the United States in the South, I hate to say you northern people, women in the South are prettier than they are up north. That doesn't mean there's not some beautiful women up north, because there are. But the percentages,
yeah.
Dallas, Texas, Fort Worth, Texas, Lubbock, Texas has got beautiful women.
Yeah.
Tons of beautiful women. You go to the United on the south side of town where they wear the yoga pants all the time.
Yeah.
Primo place if you're a single guy to go to.
And they're keyword single guy, right? Like as a married, happily married individual. You notice, right? I mean, it's not like you're, stupid at this point, but you're like, wow, if I was a single guy, this is probably a good place.
You're not
to
blind.
visit. Right. Yeah, I'm not blind.
Yeah.
And we stopped in Prague, and then I can't remember the little town we were working in, but yeah, there were a lot of good looking women.
This has nothing to do with Navy SEAL. I went to the Central Market by the university the other day. I love Central Market.
Oh, same here.
Central Market in South Lake Carroll, there's a lot higher demographics than the one over by TCU is.
I think my wife has said that a couple times.
Yeah.
I'm just like, there's, it's all based on, where the
It's a ghetto Central Market compared to the South Lake one.
It's definitely not, when we lived in Hazlitt, we'd always drive over to the South Lake one. Now that we live in Lido, it's the one there in South, or right there by TCU.
But it's a whole lot different. I told Michelle when we was there, and I said, the people in here is it's like difference between being in a Walmart and a Target.
Yeah.
And I hate Target and I hate Walmart both. I don't like either one of them. But Target, if you see two guys together, they're dating. But there's a lot of pretty women in Target.
Yeah.
Walmart, there ain't no telling what you're going to see.
I love there used to be I don't know if it's still around, but the People of Walmart website.
Yes.
Yeah. I love watching people. So, and I'm a Walmart shopper. Like I go to Walmart all the time. They carry brands that I want. They're at a fucking affordable price. It's convenient. So I don't have a problem going to Walmart. People are like, I can't believe that. But Target, to me, it's a little more polished, but less choices on what I want. But there's different demographics, of the people that you're, being exposed to.
Walmart was in Arkansas. It was born and raised for rednecks. There ain't no, that's it. And they've done great. I mean, hell, I think they made $100 billion profit last year. Hey. Smart business people. A lot of people shop at them. I'm just not I'm just not a big, I go to them when I have to.
Yeah. And I think to each their own, right? Like, to me, that's like, cool. You don't want to go to Walmart? Don't go to Walmart. but I guess as a, country boy from South Texas, they hit their target demographics, right?
Yeah, they are.
So I can run in there, grab what I need. And I mean, shit, driving out to Truscott on Wednesday, I stopped at Walmart and Graham.
You can get everything you need.
Everything. Now there's certain things I won't buy at Walmart. I mean, just because of the quality, right? Like I'm not going to waste, this isn't going to last long enough to get the money out of it. But I mean, for the most part, it's the same product you buy anywhere else.
If you're buying electronics, you can get them at Walmart. You're getting the same damn thing you're getting at Best Buy.
And if I can get it for $200 instead of $1,000, like why would I not?
Right. They have their Target deal, and there's stuff there that's just as good. I just don't like the. I had an experience at Walmart one time years ago, and this was it's cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars because my wife is a shopper. We used to go there all the time, had all our groceries and shit. Get up there, and the lady's bitching. That's the checker. And she stops and she closes the deal after we'd waited in line. It was around Thanksgiving. And she goes, I'm going on my break. I said, well, what about us? Fuck y'all. I don't care. It's her exact words. I said, oh, okay. So I took that card over to the manager's desk and I said, I was fixing to buy this. And we turned around and walked and we went to Target and we went to United and I've never been back since.
Yeah.
I've been to a couple of Walmarts in towns traveling and we've had to stop. And, you can get what you need.
Yeah.
And it's got its place. And they're very consistent too. No matter what Walmart you go to, they're the same.
Yeah, they're all the
same.
same.
Dollar General. You go to Dollar General anywhere and there's shit all over the floor.
Yeah. Yeah. The only time I shopped at Dollar General was we went out to North Carolina for hurricane back in 2019, I think, or 16. I can't remember. I'm horrible with dates. Like I fuck dates up all the time. And the only thing that was open was fucking Dollar General. And I was like, well, I guess I'm going to Dollar General for Ziploc bags.
I go to the one in Knox City. It's about godsend for us.
Yeah.
We use it a lot.
Out here in a small town.
I actually liked it. I was like, it wasn't dirty.
No, they're not dirty. They're just cluttery.
Yeah. But I'm like, for $1, I got whatever I needed. And I'm like, well, why would I not go there and spend $1?
My grandkids used to all the time, Judge, take us to Dollar General. What for? We've bought everything 3 times there. There's not that much shit to get, but they I go once or twice a week. We need something.
Yeah.
It's perfect for small towns. They're the second biggest box retailer in the United States.
I'm telling you, they've got a business model and they're fucking good at it. Like you're as a small Texas town, I don't know about any other state, but you've made it when you got a Dollar fucking General. Like
every small town's got one.
Yeah, Dollar General and fucking Dairy Queen. Like that's
right.
it. Like,
we don't have a Dairy Queen no more. They lost that.
What the? I'm all driving around out here and I can't find a fucking Dairy Queen.
Monday's got one.
Monday.
Man, where's Monday?
Right, 12 miles
here.
east of here, 12 miles.
But I'm in Truscott, so that's another.
You go to Benjamin and you go Benjamin to Seymour, don't you? Yeah, it's if you go straight from the lodge going east towards the. Do you like the Jalitos at Dairy Queen? I love them. No, you know what that is?
I don't.
It's the jalapenos that are cut in little strips, and they're fried, like French fries.
Yeah.
Oh, they're good.
Look, I grew up in Texas, and I don't eat jalapenos.
Man, I love them things.
No, I learned that lesson early on in life.
We're okay. You went all over the Middle East.
I did.
Never been. Have no desire to go. There was a time I'd like to go and see the pyramids. I'd like to go to Israel, but I'd never do that now. My question is, when I watch stuff over there like India, it looks like it stinks on TV. Is it the nastiest, stinkingest places, or is that just on TV?
You know what? I think it's just like any U.S. city. There's going to be parts of downtown that probably, like I've been in New Orleans, Bourbon Street, that fucking stinks.
It smells.
Yeah, it does.
Probably smells like most foreign small towns. Like the town has smells. Yes, their animals are kept in a different way. They're not out in fields and pastures. They're part of the town. So yeah, there are certain smells over there. Their food produce certain smells. But outside the town, I'm telling you, fucking Pakistan is absolutely gorgeous.
When you get in the countryside?
Oh my fucking God. I'm telling you, beautiful country. Like
I've heard that about Afghanistan too.
Look, I'm telling you, I've got some of the most brilliant landscape pictures from, I think Iraq is beautiful. A lot of sand, but man, the country itself, and for the most part, the people are actually nice, decent people. If you can get beyond the religions, which some of them can't, they're great people. But Pakistan, Afghanistan, I mean, absolutely gorgeous up in the mountains. Amazing, beautiful.
Do the Muslims have inner city violence like we have with because we're a Christian country, but by God, we got a lot of problems in our cities and in a lot of places. So do they fight amongst each other and kill each other? Do they respect each other? Because I don't trust Muslims. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Not at all.
I don't. So we didn't get to spend a lot of time in the big cities, right? I'll tell you, in the small towns, there's violence. If you're not part of the controlling group, whoever
They're
that
very
is,
tribal.
Yep, they're very tribal, and they don't cross-pollinate very well. And their languages are different. There are small differences in their culture. But they seem to be geographically segregated. But when they come together for power or whatever, they seem to clash. And I think that's what we wind up dealing with. For the most, I mean, you would have troublemakers in the towns, but like a lot of the small towns we worked in, the people just kind of went about their daily business. You know, they go to the market, they're fucking out front washing their clothes. I mean, people are out we're driving our Humvees down the middle of the street and they're out washing their fucking clothes. I mean, it's, you know, people aren't, you know, shooting each other on the streets, but then but they're being controlled by whatever, you know, family or tribe has power. And if anybody tries to oppose that power, that you have issues.
So it's a lot like kind of like the mafia over here. Like there's one family that would control a neighborhood or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's probably a really good example.
I was wondering if maybe it's kind of like if we were modern days and we still had the Indian tribes everywhere here, and the Indian tribes were fighting amongst themselves all the time. They just didn't ever get cleansed or got rid of them like we did in America, where we got on top of them. And that's kind of like those same tribes have been fighting each other for thousands and thousands of years.
Yeah.
One goes in power for 100 years and another goes in power. And then the opium trade is their big money maker, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And that's the only reason we were over there.
You know, I wish I knew the answer to that question. I'll tell you that you didn't fuck with the farmers. Like that was like the farmers out there making money, whether it was opium or fucking corn. Like that was when we first got into Afghanistan, made very clear. Don't fuck with the crops. Because that was local people, right? So whatever side of morality you're on with drugs, that is not our fight. So
was the opium fields everywhere?
Oh, they're fucking everywhere. I mean, they farmed it. I mean, it's like growing corn in South Texas.
Do they all use it over there?
They don't. They sell it.
They just sell it.
But they don't make. So it's not. You know, it's not like in the States when you think about somebody selling hundreds of millions of dollars of opium and being rich. These are poor farmers that are farming a field or a crop. Probably like any other, you know, farmer on the planet.
They ain't getting rich, but somebody else
They are
is.
not. They are
so
poor.
Who do they sell it to?
That's my question.
So you'll have entities from, you know, organized, I don't to say crime, I guess organized crime that will come in and purchase it, just like you would sell your corn to a distributor. And then they take it, and it's, you know, over there, it's whatever controlling tribe is running the drug trade.
Right.
Not Bumpy Johnson. Who's the one from New York, the one that was the big, that Wesley Snipes, or not Wesley, Denzel Washington played?
An American Gangster. Frank Lucas?
Frank Lucas. He was in Vietnam, and he was selling, was it heroin that he was getting?
I believe so.
It was heroin. He was getting back to New York City, and that's where all the big money, all the heroin was going into New York City, was coming out of from World War or the Vietnam War. He was paying people off. So I'm assuming in Afghanistan and all them places are selling that opium or poppy or whatever it is, and I'm assuming it's going to a different country, and then they're sending it to America.
Oh yeah, I don't think whatever they're doing to make it a drug is happening. I think they're exporting it. So you're talking the local farmer that's growing that shit, that's selling it to somebody else that then takes it and does it with whatever those are the people we didn't want to fuck with.
It's like the guys selling wheat in America. They're not making it $4 a bushel, but General Mills is charging $10 for a box of cereal.
Exactly.
Right.
So, but they're sending that opium to somewhere else. So there's no big places that they're doing any kind of opium other than getting rid of it.
Not that we saw.
And y'all had to leave them alone.
Yeah,
Why would we have to do that if it was, because that's not helping America at all?
Well, I think the sentiment was we were there to help the local population. If you go in there and you fuck up their means of income, how friendly are they going to be to you being in their country?
Right.
I agree with that, but I'm just saying,
And
if
then
we
you
were
make more
really
enemies over there.
if we were really against this opium trade, we would have shut it down really quick and easy.
Hey, again, I think there's a lot of things get said, and to me, it all comes down to action. It's just like these fucking plastic bottles, save the planet. Look, if we had such a big problem with these, why let me fuckers make them, right? The government could quickly say, hey, you know what? You can no longer put a product in a plastic bottle. Problem fucking solved.
Right.
But it's not. It's about the dollar, and it's just about people getting up there saying, oh, we're going to save the planet. I mean, when I grew up, it was stop cutting trees down.
Save the rainforest.
Save the rainforest. And I'm like, is the rainforest been saved?
No.
Right. So everybody with their, I go to the gym and it's like, you fill your bottle up. You've saved so many water bottles. Yeah, bullshit. I've thrown just as many out today as I did yesterday. And I've just happened to be filling up another,
The plastic bottle thing is what's crazy about that is that the petroleum engineering. Oh, we got to get rid of oil and stuff. We can't get rid of oil. First of all, if you could replace everything oil's made, the government can't replace the money they make off of the oil companies.
We have not been able to replace that the basic element that, you know, of patrolling, the primary, whatever the fuck it is.
That makes the plastic?
Yeah.
We're never going to be able to replace it. Glass was, I like drinks in a bottle a lot more than I do in plastic.
Yep.
1,000 times. I think they taste better. Even the beer that comes in the aluminum cans, I like better than the beer in anything in a plastic.
Yeah.
What beer's in a plastic?
Oh, there was somewhere I saw one they had plastic. I was like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
I've never seen them before.
It's cheaper it's shipping.
Yes.
Right?
It's lighter.
Yeah, that's it.
But glass is the way to go. But we can't replace. Could you imagine buying a case of Dasani with glass bottles?
No.
There's no way in hell.
No. And people wouldn't recycle them like they're supposed to.
I get Topo Chico, so when I'm not drinking this.
Topo's glass.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
But that's not a refundable, recyclable bottle, is
Fuck
it?
'em.
I don't think it is.
It's going to
though.
the same place anyway. It's going in my trash can. It's going to the dumpster. We don't recycle out here. What in Mogadishu? What was the drug that they did over there? Was that?
Oh shit! It's
Is it cot?
I can't remember the name of it, but
How do you know this?
I watched a documentary on Black Hawk Down.
yeah.
Oh,
I think that was the reason they picked that time of day, is they thought everybody would be fucked up on cot.
Are they
Yeah,
are they that fucked up over there?
So here's the deal on that. I'll tell you, this is no shit, and this was as of 2018. We were in Mogadishu in the exact same fucking facility where the Department of State has their embassy. Everybody has their embassy on the international airport. There is literally a fucking drug flight that comes in like every Tuesday and Thursday. And it like everything stops to let those drugs fucking transit through Mogadishu's international airport, going out to the same fucking people that are supposed to be causing all the hate and discontent in Mogadishu. So kind of to your point about the opium overseas in Afghanistan, I mean, we would literally drive by there and they're unloading the shit off the plane. And I'm like, and they're literally importing drugs right here. And it was this, nobody
Who's
fucked with
making
them.
it for them?
Fuck, I don't know where the plane came from.
But that would be another real simple deal.
Oh, yeah.
Tuesday and Thursday, you know what's coming in?
It was part of when we got there, part of our brief taking over the security element was, okay, hey, just so you guys know, every Tuesday and Thursday or whatever.
There's going to be a plane come in.
Yeah.
Are those big palaces in Mogadishu where the rich people that run everything? I bet they're just absolutely amazing, aren't they?
Man, there's some gorgeous homes in these countries. But they are armed and protected to the teeth. Everybody's got a 20-foot concrete wall around their facility, but they're gorgeous. I mean, absolutely amazing.
Did you ever
places.
go to Saddam's palace?
I didn't.
Never got there.
I've seen pictures, and I've got friends that were in those palaces. We were out in the slums of, we never got to go to the cool downtown areas.
We got to smoke out of Saddam's hookah.
Yeah.
The guy brought
shit.
it back, and we got to smoke it. I've never smoked anything in my entire life, ever. Pot, cigarettes, nothing at all. But I smoked out of Saddam's hookah, and it's absolutely the nastiest shit. You should have just put charcoal in my mouth.
Yeah, I don't know that I ever had a hookah, but if it was Saddam's, I'll probably smoke out of it.
It was his personal come out of his.
The guy was an Army Ranger, and he was there kind of whenever they first went in before, because basically everybody took everything out of there.
Yeah.
It was, and that's what he had, a hookah next to his bed, and he said, take what you want, take the silverware, all that bullshit. He said, I want his hookah.
Oh yeah, people take all kind of shit, man.
And he said all the jewels are fake, and all the gold or whatever, it's all just aluminum foil. All this money, and it's all
plated shit.
just plated
Because
shit.
he knew people were going to
basically.
steal his shit.
Well, protect your assets, right?
Who was who was it that we had on here that he was one of the first people in one of the palaces, so they got to enjoy it. And he said they pissed in all the pools and shit. And he said the other groups come in, they was all jumping, swimming in the pool.
Oh, yeah.
He said we'd all took pisses in that damn thing.
Yeah. That's why you never swim in a pool overseas. Yeah.
I can't remember who that was. I remember them talking about it.
He said, it was pretty funny watching the new platoon come in, and they was swimming and shit. He said, oh, shit, we all took pisses in there. We were the first ones there.
Yep.
Now, you've seen probably a lot of gunshot wounds in your time over there. Hollywood makes it seem like you can just take a round right through the shoulder and just keep on keeping on, stick your finger in it and let's keep going. But I mean, in reality,
I've
you take
seen
one through the
guys
shoulder,
take rounds and just keep on fucking moving.
Really?
Yep.
But it just doesn't blow everything out. I mean, on the backside of everything, you see John Wick, he gets shot and he goes to the hotel and stitches himself up or whatever. But on the backside of it, if you take a round through here, your shoulder's probably fucked up, your clavicle's probably missing.
I mean, it all depends on what the trajectory, where the bullet is in flight, what the angle of the bullet is when it enters your skin. I mean, if it's just tissue and you're assaulting a target or in a firefight, your adrenaline's going so fast. Like I've, unfortunately have treated a lot of my teammates that had gunshot wounds and have had other teammates that were also shot that were like, I'm good, get them taken care of. And they had pushed through the fight. And, even on the evac aircraft, like, hey, you guys go, I'm going to wait. So that doesn't surprise me. Now, if it hits something, serious, if it hits a bone, you're talking all that bone turns into shrapnel, all of that becomes, damaged tissue. But you see a lot of that with guys that on that high, your adrenaline's going, and sometimes you don't even know, like you don't even realize, like, oh shit, like I got shot. Like when I took my piece of shrapnel on my leg, I thought I'd been hitting my shin with a rock.
Yeah.
Now it was a piece of shrapnel, right? So it was a ricochet off of a rock. So pretty much the same thing, but it didn't even click until, after I evac my patient, like, and my team leader was like, hey, are you all right? And I was like, what the fuck? And I was like, oh shit, I actually fucking got.
So these people that actually will be flying in the helicopter back and they're like, got blood on them. Oh shit, you've been hit. That does happen sometimes.
I'll tell you, man, I walked up to a ramp one night in Asadabad. We had one of our teams that got into some fucking shit, had a couple casualties. My team didn't go out that night. And I walked up on the helicopter. One of the guys that had been hit was just standing on the ramp, and I walked up to grab him. He was like, fucking good, man. I'm going to go back to the other camp. And I'm just like, and he's fucking gunshot wound through his fucking shoulder. So yeah.
He didn't even go to the doc or nothing.
Well, he did when he got back up, but he was more concerned with his teammates, making sure
I guess the bullet went through all the way through.
Yeah.
God almighty, it's got to hurt.
So that, I've seen, what you see people deal with, and listening to some of these folks that I've met after I've served, like some of these Medal of Honor recipients and Navy Cross recipients, and like their injuries and what they were able to continue to do. Nothing. It's all in the head, man. Like, to me, I've said that your body's going to tell you that it can't go, but if you've got the drive, your body's going to follow your brain. But it gets in your brain like, oh fuck, I got shot. Just like, PTSD, everybody's a fucking victim, right? Oh, PTSD, I'm a victim. So yeah, get that in your head, and yeah, you're going to be a fucking victim. But
I'm glad you brung that up, because I've gotten grilled a couple times over that. There are definitely people out there that's got PTSD.
Yes.
I'm 100% with that.
Yes.
But I think it's also a crutch for some people on a lot of times. And I know I'm going to get grilled over this, but I had someone I was close to was married to a dude that had PTSD.
Okay.
His PTSD was so bad he could go drinking every day and go do everything else in the world, and he'd get a check from the government every month.
Yep.
I don't think the dude had PTSD.
Yeah. So, that's such a fucking sensitive topic, right?
Yes, it is, and you get in trouble for it.
Man,
because I'm not trying to be insensitive to people that really got problems.
Yep.
But I think there's people that use the system, they get out, and this guy never went to combat or nothing.
So here's the thing, right? Like post-traumatic stress disorder, right? What if you really break that down? What does it mean? That means somebody was exposed to some type of traumatic event, and every time they think about that traumatic event, they have stress, right? That's what the fuck it is. So I look at what I think our military should be, and these are my personal opinions. And I'm going to, the soft community, right? I was at 18 years old. I was exposed to shit that people probably have never been exposed to in their life, right? Like fucking melted body, right? Like that's pretty fucking traumatic. I can smell it. I can see it. I can taste it. But I didn't walk away and say, I'd never want to be exposed to that again. And I think that's the difference, right? I think these folks that use this, have PTSD and use it as an excuse, have let it become their defining point. And there's some work out there being done. It's called operator syndrome, right? And the difference between operator syndrome and PTSD is operator syndrome is, yes, you've been exposed to some general bad shit and you're probably got some fucking weird shit going on in your head, but you're willing to pick up and continue to move forward, right? Like I've done it before. I didn't get back off deployment and be like, wow, I lost a friend. I'm never doing that again. There's some guys that did, right? And I support them 100%. But then I see these folks that are like, well, I was in the military and I had to write a letter for somebody because they were killed overseas, and now I have PTSD. And I'm like, I don't think that's
just
PTSD.
lies.
It's not the same.
So the sad thing for me is the folks that really struggle with these, whether it's PTSD or operator syndrome, aren't getting what they need because there's so many fucking people that are taking advantage of the system. And that to me is unfortunate, right? Does everybody change through your military service? Yes. And I get in trouble for this all the time because I firmly believe that I love all veterans. I'm glad they all served, but there's a difference between a veteran that served for 4 years and a veteran that served for 25, 30 years, and a veteran that deployed overseas and a veteran that didn't deploy overseas. They're two different people, and we just throw them all in one big bucket. And I think we have to accept that it's not all about treat everybody the same, right? There has to be differences. Like this guy worked at, SEAL Team 6 for fucking 25 years, probably has different experiences in life than some dude that joined the Army and was a fucking MP.
Right.
And worked in fucking, Camp Bullis.
Yeah.
Like those two are very different veterans. A combat medic versus someone that spent their entire fucking career working in Naval Hospital Balboa. Like those, but at the end of the day, it's like, oh, you're all veterans. Like they are, but there's different experiences that I think we have to address.
That's like a police officer that lives in Knox City, Texas, and a police officer that works on the streets of Los Angeles in Compton.
Yeah.
And is dealing with drug dealers and shootouts and gangbangers all day. They're both police officers. Yeah. I appreciate everything they've 100%. Done. But there's a whole big difference on what one of them sees. Paramedics. Every paramedic could have PTSD. Can you imagine being a PTSD? Can you imagine being a paramedic in South Oak Cliff or a paramedic in Highland Park? Who sees more shit?
I'm telling you. But as a society, we just want to put everybody in a bucket and be like, treat them all the same. If you do that, it's not going to affect the people that actually need it more than those others. And again, I'm not trying to take anything away from anybody. These are my personal feelings on, but I think there are people, unfortunately, that take advantage of the system, the way that the system is in place, and it takes away from those that have more serious issues that need to be addressed.
I think there's a bunch of people on the system that are milking the system.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people that need help that don't get any because they don't want to jack with it.
Yep.
But I think there's a whole lot of people that are taking advantage of the whole system.
I unfortunately agree. And it's sad to see that.
But it's our society in general. You go by the government housing, Section 8 apartments. Why can't some of those people get a job?
Look, we're deporting all these illegal aliens, right? Fucking there's a lot of job openings. Like construction's a good fucking field. Like,
you can make $18, $20 an hour working at Chick-fil-A.
Hey,
I did the math at Starbucks the other day. Starbucks has got the new little computer chip, added tip. Wears me the hell out. People give you something and they flip that thing around to you. Tip. The other day I no tip for the first time in my life because I always feel bad. But anyways, you tip. Well, I figured it up. At Starbucks, if you work the window and everybody gives $2 to $4, every car that comes through there, then people are making $100,000 a year on tips. It's non-taxed.
Yeah.
For doing nothing.
Yeah.
They're doing something, but they're not doing nothing.
Yeah.
And I just thinking, wow. And you can't find a job and get out of a Section 8 apartment?
Yeah.
And bipolar is another one that wears me out.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you're fucking crazy. We know you're crazy. That's not bipolar. That's just crazy.
Yeah.
We've had crazy people for years. We didn't write them checks.
Yeah. I've been crazy my whole life.
Yeah. I honestly hadn't met very many women that weren't crazy, but every one of them is bipolar.
Except my wife. Yeah, she's not crazy.
Mine's kind of borderline sometimes, so I'm not going to defend her, and she's going to listen to this. But we're a society of victims and excuses.
I think when we start victimizing it, that's when I struggle. So that's, I want to embrace life, right? Like I did my service. I'm happy I did it. I had a great career. Like loved it.
Military is one of the few, and it's gotten woke.
And I hope the new Secretary of Defense is, fixing some things.
I think he is.
I hope so. I've got a lot of friends that are still serving, and I hope things are better. I'm not connected to that world anymore. I still talk to a lot of my buddies, but I'm obsolete at this point. Like the shit that they're doing now blows my fucking mind. I'm just, enthralled with what they're doing now. But,
it's a fighting force.
Yes.
So they're supposed to be fighters.
Right.
So I don't know why that's so hard. We'll flip it real quick. The drone deal.
Okay.
The drone thing has me really concerned. I saw what happened with Ukraine and Russia blowing up all them fighters. It scares me to think that some of these terrorists over here, because there's a lot of people in our country that does not love America, and they don't love us.
Yep.
And they don't love Christians.
Yep.
They don't love white people.
Yep.
Agreed. And there's people that don't like black people and brown people, but there's a big, big group of people that don't like white people.
Yeah.
So with these drones, I think that's something we're really going to have to worry about because there's no really way to defend them. We're talking about football game with these drones that go in and do stuff.
Yep.
And that's scary to me.
Yeah. I mean, we were at a football game and they did one of those drone shows. You know, they put, all the coolest shit in the sky. And as I'm watching that, I'm thinking, what if the company behind that just wanted to flip that switch and all those drones just turn and just fall onto the stadium with, whatever, automatic. Yeah. I mean, I think they're a serious threat, and we just sell them on fucking Amazon, right? Like, hey, get a drone license. Well, I guess anybody can get a drone license. So there's a lot of things that, and I hope our government's doing something to protect against them. But
to me, that's something we really, really could be a major player, because I was shocked at what they did in Russia with those things on those jets. And if they could hit, what if you wanted to hit someone on the tarmac at DFW or something with,
I mean, how fast, how does the radar even pick them up?
Right.
Like,
my first encounter with that, or not encounter, when I watched it, was one of those shows, the White House Down, or one of them, and he was in the boat, and these drones come from the deal, and Gerard Butler grabs the president, throws him in the water, and there's just hundreds of them. And I was like, God, that's scary as shit. I thought there's no way that could be, real. And then I saw a video in Ukraine of the Russian soldiers being attacked by drones, and they have Benelli shotguns. I'm assuming they were Benellis. And the guy's like shooting trap, trying to shoot these freaking drones coming at him, and then drones are shooting at him and shit. Did you see that video? It's scary as shit, because you can't. And all of a sudden they're hollering in Russian, blah, 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 and they're pointing and bam, bam. And this sucker's diving at him and stuff.
Yeah.
And I thought, some 12-year-old fucking kid playing on an Xbox over there is shooting these damn soldiers, basically. And there's nothing these guys. I mean, they're tiny. You can't see them hardly until they break out and they're shooting at you, or they've got explosives. They'll fly them down there and blow up, with grenades.
Yeah.
Wow.
And these guys are trying to shoot at them. I mean, these guys are hiding behind a tree, and these suckers are buzzing at them and stuff. It's scary.
Yeah.
And I thought, God dang, we're going to have that same. If it's over there, we got it here.
Yeah. Just a matter of time.
Well, I heard somebody talking. I can't remember exactly what she said. We know something has crossed the border, some sort of bomb.
They think there's a suitcase bomb that's missing from Russia.
Yeah. She said, we know for a fact that that's come across the border during the last administration. This lady, she projects, I mean, she's very vocal about, like, it could be a bad 6 months over here. Like, they're trying to do the 9/11, another 9/11 attack, and she said it's going to be more like the October 7th that we saw over there a couple years ago, where they just hit like a small little town and just invoke chaos.
Yeah. I mean, can you think about so many small towns across the country that just don't have...
I mean,
the only difference is in every small town, everybody's got guns.
Well, that's true.
The only thing that separates us from a lot of countries is that when you went in them shitholes, all them foreign countries, probably the majority of the people didn't have weapons, did they?
A lot of them actually do.
No shit?
Yeah.
That really, like shotguns?
Everybody's got AK-47.
Yeah.
Everybody.
So when you went in every house, they had
every single house. Like, you had to be very... At a certain point, you had to be very selective with your target identification, because if you're in one house, motherfucker walks out from the house next door because they hear a ruckus, and he's carrying an AK-47. And it's like, okay, is he a threat? Right. Or is he just trying to figure out if someone's trying to break into his house? So it'd be like small town
West Texas or anywhere in the plains.
But here's what I don't think they have the same, I don't know if the right way to say this. I think the way that they view that, it is more of an individual personal protection, where I think what we might have here is the town coming together, like, okay, hey, there's an external threat, and we're going to, band together to take care of it. So I don't know. I'm not quite sure what that dynamic is, but they have guns, but it's not like...
They're not team players like we would be.
Yeah, I think they're more of like, if someone comes into my house, I've got a gun to protect me and my family, versus... Hey, we're going to go out in the street as a group. I'm going to call Bill and be like, hey, you got your shit. Let's go, because, there's, fucking people down the street are trying to do something.
How many people, like, when y'all would assault the target or whatever, does everybody know that guy's a terrorist, or is it just like, oh, fucking Americans are hitting another house?
They know whether you're there.
They know, like, and they're most of the time very fucking happy that we're there.
Right.
And most of the time, a lot of the intel came from the people around them.
Oh, okay.
So,
right.
We hit this one guy in a small town called Kubesa in Iraq, and he was the primary dude shooting rockets at the base. So he injured quite a few service members. So they fucking finally tracked this guy down, and I want to say the imam had finally kind of pointed out the house that the guy lived at. So we'd gone after him a couple times, but they're smart. Like, they knew we came at nighttime. So at dusk, they'd fucking leave and they'd go sleep in the palm groves down by the river. And then if we came in, they'd fucking fall in the river and just float down the river so we couldn't. So,
shit.
Yeah, so they got smart to like our tactics, right? So we figured, we had a good boss at one point. He goes, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go and we're just going to hit a bunch of fucking houses around this person's house. And then we're going to leave a couple of dudes behind. So when that motherfucker gets up in the morning and decides to come home, we're going to be there waiting for him. And we literally, knocked on a door of his neighbor. And we're like, hey, and they let us stay the night, let us come in. I actually wound up treating their grandfather. He's in his room and very frail, very old. And the kids were playing detainee. So like they would come in the room where we were sitting in their prayer room and they would they'd get on their knees, put their head against the wall, and put their hands behind their back. And we're all just like, this is fucking sad. Like these poor kids, like this is what they've been exposed to.
Yeah.
Family was amazing. Take great care of us. But the grandfather, man, his fucking urine smelled so bad. Like he was super dehydrated. I wound up putting IVs in him because I just felt bad for the guy. So we're sitting there waiting. But this guy came home and, once he drove back up and, that one had a guy up on the roof, in local garb. And as soon as he, PID'd him, he's like, yep, that's the dude. We fucking ran out and took care of him. And the fucking neighbors were super happy about it.
Yeah.
Right? But then there's other times where almost the same situation, we ran out, took care of it, and every motherfucker in the city started shooting at us. And then it's like, what the fuck just happened? Like RPGs coming in. We're like, holy shit, these people do not like us. Apparently they like him. So it was a little bit hit and miss, a little bit of both. But for the most part, they wanted them gone, but didn't want to say anything because there was retribution.
Do you know before you hit that target, like, okay, the town, they might not be for this? Or do you know when the target you're going after is liked by the town and when they're not liked by the town?
Yeah, sometimes your intelligence folks are so good that they can give you all of that information.
Like hey, you need to hurry this fuck up.
Yeah, like we think this is an isolated house, or hey, this guy's not working by himself. He's got several of his cronies that live around the area. So once you hit his, figure out what the next house. So that goes back to that on-site interrogation, right? Where are all your lieutenants at? Where are all your buddies at? And then we'd start at one house and then that would lead us to 2 or 3 more houses. So if you had good intel, you would know, but sometimes you just couldn't anticipate it.
Right. What's the most houses you hit in a night?
Shit. That's a good question. I don't know. I know on one 4-month deployment, we did 167 raids.
Oh my God.
Whew. Yeah. And I only remember that because it's on my eval.
167 in 4 months.
Yeah.
Were the houses nasty or clean? Did they take a lot of pride in their houses, or was it just
clean.
a mixture? Very clean.
Clean.
Dirt floors or just
dirt floors, clean dirt. I mean, it was the local population. They took pride. I mean, they weren't dirty people. Like they were, for the most part, nice, clean people. They weren't, American friendly people, but they were more neutral bias. Like, hey, we know why you're here. We're not getting involved with this shit. But for the most part, I mean, we went into some really nice houses and we went into some really shitty houses.
Did they have refrigerators, even the poor houses and stuff? So
no, not every one of them. Refrigerators, stuff like that. I mean, those were, if you had, full electricity at your house to power a refrigerator all the time, you were probably a little higher class.
So
not every house.
The wealthy folks is no different going in a high-end house in Dallas when you're in them.
No, everything's fucking marble. I mean, those fucking floors are slippery as fuck when they get wet.
I was in Dearborn, Michigan last year, and you can tell where the Muslims' houses are in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
Because they all have the G3 or whatever it is, Mercedes out in front of them, and they got these house, and you could just tell. I mean, that was their house.
Oh yeah.
And it was designed different, everything, but it was really up to date on everything.
Yeah.
A lot of marble, a lot of stuff like that, and so the nice houses are just pure marble and shit.
I as we're talking about it, I'm thinking about all these houses we went into, and just the stairwells, the walls. I mean, everything's marble. Looked gold. I don't know if it was actual gold. I mean, just very nicely finished, very well decorated. Air conditioning to the nice fucking air conditioning.
Did their women dress up nice, or do they wear the garb too?
Everybody had the garb. Even going into like at a night, a night raid, you would put all the women in one room women and kids in one room to keep them kind of, separated, you would give them time to make sure that they could cover. You know, it would be just disrespectful of their culture.
So at nighttime, they don't sleep in their garb then?
They don't. So usually the women and children are sleeping separately in a group, and then the men will sleep separate. It just depended on the house. Sometimes the men would all be asleep on the roof, and we'd know that ahead of time, and the women would all be in a room. Sometimes you'd have women and kids sprinkled throughout the house, but they're very family structured when it comes to like sleeping. So usually all of them were in the same room, and they wouldn't have like all of their shit on, but they weren't like in the United States
no negligee running
naked.
around.
Yeah, I mean it was
right.
They were still had they were modestly dressed to sleep, but then they would put on their head covers and all that stuff.
What's crazy when you see the films or a film of like people in Abu Dhabi, that's the wealthy place, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you see these guys, these sheiks and stuff, and then they got these hot little 25-year-old blonde and European girls in little dresses and shit. And then you look behind them and they got the women got all their shit, were covered up completely. But
it's a Rumspringa almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, those are toys, right?
Right.
Like, let's just call it what it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a toy.
Yeah.
That's getting paid to be a toy, and what's behind him is family.
I wonder what what I would love to know what the statistics are on the toys if they ever get out of that. I mean, do they just go back to regular life in Baltimore, wherever they fucking come from, or they end up being enslaved and sex trafficked by them guys? I've always wondered about that.
I've never met one. Yeah, I've never met one. Never, but I mean, I mean, that's the dynamic that you see that, and people will go to Dubai and Abu Dhabi for that purpose, is to meet these wealthy foreigners.
Have you been to Dubai?
I have.
Is it nice and opulent as they say it is?
Yeah, it's nice. It's super nice.
30 years ago, it wasn't nothing.
It was a piece of sand island, I guess. But they've done, I mean, the engineering is, what they've done with engineering over there is just amazing.
I always think of the nicest places in Las Vegas is what Abu Dhabi must be like.
It is. It's
all man-made, just
super clean.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah. We've passed through there, spent a little bit of time there.
I bet it was nice when you got to stay there in places, some of the other places.
I'm telling you, man.
Because it's safe there too, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a tourist country.
They like the American dollar.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of international influence in there. Very wealthy, great place. People I've never had a single problem in Dubai. Like I've never, whether they were in their, full different cultural dress or Western dress. I've never been treated any way but very respectful in the country.
I saw there's a show. There's one that's on Netflix, something called Buying Sunset, and it's the wealthy people in the Los Angeles area. And then there's one Buying Dubai.
I saw that. I haven't watched it yet.
It was interesting because as anti-American culture as they are, they really in that place there are all about the Western world.
Well,
the
yeah,
way we do things.
And I think that's the dynamic of Dubai, right? Like they've realized that if you embrace it, like you don't have to do it, but if you embrace it, you can prosper from that. And I think they're monopolizing that.
Yes, they are. Big
I'd
time.
do the same fucking thing. Like if I was in that situation, Dubai is probably the one place or one of the few places that if I had an opportunity to go live, I would go live in Dubai.
Yeah, everybody I know that's had to go over there for work or something told me that it's an amazing place.
Yeah, everything's just beautiful.
One of my clients goes over there on business. He told me one time, and he's a single guy. He goes, "That's not a place to date." I go, "Why?" He goes, "Because I'm poor."
Yes. There's a dynamic over there. Back to the toy comment, right? Like that's what's happening over there. Like,
where did the fancy watch culture? When did that get into special forces?
I told you, like initially when I was, when I joined the military, I really didn't know anything about all these different, cool dudes and gals. So, you just hear stories like what they had to, see pictures and like, so I think that's kind of what seeded that first, like, okay, I want a Rolex, right? Like if everybody in special operations is wearing a Rolex, one day I'm going to get a Rolex. So I finally bought it. And what I realized, it's kind of like one of the things that a lot of the guys share are, this watch.
Nice watch collection.
Yeah. So, I bought this one in 1997 And my plan was, I actually bought it the year my son was born. My plan was when he graduates college, I'm going to give it to him and then I'll buy me a new one. Well, because I didn't get the date on it, it's more rare.
Right.
So when he graduated college, I just bought him one because I was like, well, I'll just buy him his own and keep this one. But yeah, I mean, that was the thing for me. And so I started buying one every time I had like an important milestone in my career. That's how I kind of celebrated myself, was I purchased what I thought was, a high-end watch. And I don't have anything crazy.
Right.
But a lot of my friends all kind of share the same passion.
It's the watch market's gotten out of control though. So like I got into this late, but I'm sure so that's what I've always thought about, like, what you paid for that watch in the 90s, it is a lot more now, but that money then is, relatively speaking, probably hurt just the same as much as it does now.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, if you look at what I was earning then and what the same person in that same rank is earning now, it's this. I mean, I think I paid just under $4,000 for it. And that was like, holy shit, like $4,000. And even my wife's like, are you sure you want to do this? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And, it took weeks to build myself up to do it. And then I did it. I'm like, it's just a fucking watch. And I'm just kidding, Rolex. But yeah, it's, I don't know. I don't know where it comes from, but I mean, as I'm thinking, like all my friends, I'll get a text almost every couple of days, dude, check out this new watch I got. I'm like, dude, where did you get that? So, that's kind of my frivolous spending.
When was the last time you bought a Rolex?
I bought my wife one 2 years ago.
So were they going through I guess they were, because COVID fucked everything up. Because it was right around COVID I started wanting.
Yep.
It was a little bit before COVID. It was like 2018, 2019. Started thinking I wanted a Rolex. So my wife, you don't say any of your dreams around her, because she will scrape and scrounge and do everything in her capability to make sure that we do this. So I can't even remember
you got a good wife.
I can't even remember how I told her, because that's kind of like a selfish thing. Like I've been looking at this watch, and you got to smooze it over that way.
Yeah.
But it was, so I bought it in 24, but we started like getting serious about it like in 21, and you couldn't find them anywhere.
No, nowhere. Yeah. And I think the reason that my wife finally came on board, I was trying to buy my son a watch for graduation because I wasn't going to give him mine, and I was going to every Rolex dealer in the state of Texas. And I just happened to call Dallas, and the guy was like, you know what? We just got a box come in this morning. I have no idea what's in there. And it just happened to have a Submariner, just the basic Submariner date. And he's like, I actually just got one in. And I was like, I'll pay for it over the phone. Like, so I drove over there, but when I was paying for it, he saw mine, and he's like, how much do you want for that? I'll give you like $17,000 for it right now. And I was like, no. And my wife's like, wait a minute. Why would you give him? And he's like, well, because it doesn't have a date. I can tell that it's an older Submariner. He's like, so they go up in value. And he goes, and the fact that it doesn't have a date, they didn't sell that many of them because everybody spent more. So you were a cheap ass when you bought your Rolex, which paid off dividends. So when she heard that, she was like, as we were driving home, she's like, okay, I think I want to get a Rolex now. So after I got hers, his for graduation, I went and got her one.
And that was like the reason I pulled the trigger on mine at the age that I am is I didn't want to like wait until I was in my 60s to get a nice watch and then die a couple years later or whatever. I wanted this to be something that my kids saw me wearing all the time. So that when I hand it down, they're like, he did everything in this watch, from baseball practice to vacations. Like he lived in this watch. So I wanted it to carry a little bit more sentimental value whenever it does finally leave my wrist.
Oh yeah, this watch has been everywhere with me.
Really?
Yep.
You would take it on deployments?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Would you take it out on raids?
Oh yes.
You wore it all the time?
Oh yeah. When I retired, I finally sent it back to Rolex for an overhaul.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Do you want us to replace the band?" I'm like, "Fuck no." They put a new clasp on it because all the metal clasp had been bent and messed up so many times that it really didn't snap anymore, and it would just routinely open up and kind of fall down my arm. My Oyster had been cracked for like years. I don't remember where I hit that.
Right.
But yeah, I wore it everywhere. everywhere.
shit.
Everywhere.
Go out on ops and just covered in blood and
had my Rolex on me. So
really, does everybody do that?
No.
No.
Here's the sad thing, and some folks that know me know this. Like, I also had to wear another watch because if I needed to take like respirations, it was hard from like, okay, where's that fucking second hand?
Right.
So I'd be able to fucking actually see like a second count, so I could get vital signs and stuff. But yeah, I tried to wear it everywhere I went.
It's such a cool culture, though. Yeah. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
I mean, just knowing that like everybody that you're serving with like has this.
Yeah.
Like it's just a little memento, a little. I accomplished this, and now I can reward myself with this. That's crazy that you took it out on ops.
Oh yeah, I mean it was a Rolex. I mean everything I read all these stories of like I've had my Rolex, I did this with it, and 20 years later I found it because it had been lost at sea, and I'm like, well shit, I'm gonna have a Rolex with a history.
Yeah.
So I always tell my son, I'm like, look, when I'm dead, you can have all my shit. I'm like, dude, if it's not sentimental to you, fucking sell it. Like. Don't think that, well, I got to hold this because my dad, it was sentimental to him. I'm like, sell the shit. Like, put the money in your pocket.
Yeah. So like as a medic, when you're working with SEAL teams and just, you have to be able to get in the same way that they do.
Yes.
You got to be able to rappel in. You got to be able to scuba dive.
Yep.
So like when do they start train? Like, so when you move over to the SEAL teams, is it like, okay, like now you got to get dive certified, or were you already that?
I was already that. So I was a hospital corpsman in the Navy, and then so when you join the Navy, you go be a SEAL, right?
Yeah.
After they graduate BUDS, their medics then go to 18 Delta with everybody else, right? At some point, I don't remember the year, but in order to be a SEAL, at some point, you had to have another job in the Navy. So boatswain's mate, machinist mate, whatever the fuck it was. Then you could go to BUDS. Well, SEAL became its own rating at some point. Well, one of the primary ratings for the teams used to be a corpsman. So you'd be a corpsman, you'd go to BUDS, and when you graduated, you were identified as now you're going to go to 18 Delta because you're going to be the team medic. When they became their own rating, they got away from doing that. So they would just pick random SEALs that graduated BUDS, and I don't know if it's random or not, and if I disrespected that for many of my team buddies, I'm sorry. But certain guys would go to 18 Delta, and they would be a medic for a period of time, and then they may not do it ever again, or they may stay doing it. I was part of a group that we were reconnaissance corpsmen first, so we went through all the Marine Corps training. So I went to basic reconnaissance course, Marine Combat Diver, jump school, and then we went to Special Operations Tech School with. That's kind of where we first met up with the SEAL medics. And that was our really kind of underwater dive medicine course. And then from there, we all went to 18 Delta. And then I went back and worked with Force Recon. So as things progressed, the SEALs kind of got further away from the medicine piece, if you will. And in their regular teams, they always maintained a certain number of guys in the platoon that were certified medics. At MARSOC became a thing. And so part of our training had already been combat dive, jump, and all that. So in 2008, 7 or 8, I was on a deployment with some guys at Dam Neck. And I was talking to one of them and had mentioned that I could help him write some evaluations. And he actually was like, dude, I don't need an Army guy. I was at an Army command at the time and deploying with him, with Dam Neck. And I was like, dude, I'm in the Navy. I'm a senior chief in the Navy. He's like, you're in the fucking Navy. So we started talking, and it became kind of a quick conversation on, well, hold on. The Navy actually has corpsmen that are combat dive, military free fall, tactics, like we've gone to all the tactical training, right? And you're a full 18 Delta graduate, right? Like, yes, I'm as much operational as you are. I can get anywhere you can get. And their kind of question was, why don't we have corpsmen like that at our command? And that's kind of how I got initially asked or proposed to, hey, why don't you come to the command and build a program? So that's what I did in 2008. Transitioned over there, and then I started bringing our special amphibious reconnaissance corpsmen over to support the command as their medics in their teams. Because at the time they were using PJs, and they still use PJs, but it was a Navy trained individual now with also 18 Delta and all the same quals to get wherever they get to go into that.
Right.
And that program is still doing very well. I think extremely healthy. A lot of the guys I've talked to that are we changed the name throughout the years to Special Operations IDC now because that's actually what the Navy calls 18 Delta. So that's what their kind of title is now. But these individuals directly support and go wherever those guys go.
So it was around that time. So 2008, you're approached by the Navy to develop the medical portion of DevGru.
I was actually approached by, at the time, their chief of staff.
Okay.
Who had a brother that was, so both of them were SEALs. I'm not going to say names because I don't want to, I'm not sure what dynamics are out there with these folks now, but the brother had become a physician, but had been a SEAL prior to that. So the chief of staff knew that his brother had connections in kind of the medical community. So after I had spoke to him, he called his brother and was like, hey, who are these fucking recon corpsman dudes? And he put him in contact with our senior dude down at Fort Bragg. And a couple of days later, the chief of staff's like, hey, we want you to come to the command. Now, this is where I fucked up, right? So it wasn't an easy process. I thought that was like, oh, fucking the command wants us, right? Like, these motherfuckers, these dudes want us to come over there. So I showed up thinking like, oh, this is like fucking, someone slapped the table and said, I walked into a fucking ambush. Like, nobody knew we were coming. Nobody knew who the fuck we were. I wound up giving some briefs to the commanding officer and some other folks. Shit went fucking sideways. I had all the fucking Master Chiefs pissed off at me. And at the time, I was still in E8, hadn't made E9 yet. It was an ugly, ugly, ugly fucking start. And I had to kind of pull all that back and kind of put all the pieces back together. Luckily, I had already deployed with them from an Army unit that I was working at, and I had built a little bit of rapport. So I was able to kind of leverage some of those guys, not too much, because I don't think they wanted to, get too in depth with me, but I was able to leverage them a little bit to kind of help me right the ship, approach the right people. And then when we started going that direction, we actually started gaining a little traction. So I was able to convince a lot of guys that had worked with me in the past that I thought were of the caliber that these particular operators would need, and started kind of screening them to bring them over to the command.
Man, you figure somebody would have like given them a heads up.
Because
that's like a cliquish. That's very cliquish, right? You
would have thought. That's why I was saying I didn't want to say names, because there's sometimes I'm not sure of all the dynamics,
right?
Like who likes who doesn't like who. So, in my perspective, like coming from Force Recon and MARSOC, like the chief of staff is usually dialed in with, because they're one of the operators or officers that have progressed up to that level. So I kind of made the assumption that, oh, this person's like in the know, but the way that command's structured, it's really not. Like, I was honored that I actually retired out of there as the Command Senior Enlisted Leader, and I was the first non-SEAL to hold that position. So when the Command Master Chief at the time asked me to do it, I actually didn't want to do it, but I was talking to my boss at the time, and he's like, you can't fucking say no. And I'm like, oh, I know I can't say no. Like, that would be, my days are limited here and it's time to go. I'm like, but that's not the job I came here for.
Right.
But I was able to go and do that and be part of that. And I realized that their dynamics of the command was very different with what kind of the commanding officer and the command master chief focus on, and what the chief staff officer and the command senior enlisted focus on. Like, I got to deal with all the bullshit, right? So that, when there was somebody that got in trouble or, fucking libo issues or whatever, that was me. Like, I didn't get to go do the fun shit, like, deploy around the world with the guys and, sit in fucking cool operations briefs and all that. But that was a different side of the command. So once I learned that, it kind of made sense on how I came in on the wrong fucking foot. But it was ugly. It was, there's a few of us that still kind of laugh about that. Like,
and for the people that don't know, DevGru, like, that's the tip of the spear.
Yep.
That is the elite of the elite.
The elite of the elite. I'm a little bit biased, and I've got a lot of great Army friends, but I think they are the elite of our military services. And I'm not taking nothing away from my brothers down at Fort Bragg, but very impressed and very privileged to have spent all those years there working with them, deploying with them, being entrusted to help develop their next generation. So So yeah, it was a fucking amazing time.
Are they all just physical specimens?
You know, here's what I'll tell you. Never judge a book by its cover.
Really?
You know, and I learned this early in my career, had some really good friends that if you looked at him, you're like, that guy can't run. And then they do take you out and smoke check you. So, you know, everybody there is an optimal performer. I'll say, I mean, they are a professional level athletic individual. Like that's why they've mirrored all the programs there, like human performance looks like an NFL team, right? Everything is based on, you know, functionality, strength, movement, and it's all geared toward the types of movements that we do. And, you know, they are some of the most, you know, physically fit, and this is kind of across all the soft guys, right? But that takes it to that next level on, but a lot of it's also technical skill, right? So and I'm not going to go into their stuff on that, but there is a defining line on that technical skill for them that separates them at that command from everybody else. And it isn't necessarily the physical acumen. So there's a technical aspect that is there. For me at that command, it was their medicine. If I couldn't bring in one of my SOIDCs and adapt and adjust to our operating environment and our protocols within a very short period of time, they were gone. Go back and do great things at, you know, wherever else as an SOIDC in the Navy. But at this organization, this is what I'm selecting you on. Your criteria, your ability to provide medicine, the best medicine in the worst possible fucking places. And that's been proven time and time again. And one day when a few of those guys retire, I hope that they're willing to share those stories because they've fucking totally blown me away with what some of these guys have done in some of these foreign countries.
What's like MASH is a TV show.
Yep.
But that was a real thing.
Yep.
And they saved lots and lots and lots of lives.
Yep.
In some really tough conditions. I'm assuming now these mobile hospitals are a lot more, they're cleaner.
Yep.
A lot more advanced.
Yep.
But they're still cutting edge and they got to get stuff done. Oh, yeah. And all you're doing is mending a guy up to stick him on a plane to send him back to Germany or somewhere, aren't you?
Stabilize him, right?
Is that what that's really usually? I mean, they can do surgery and stuff.
SOCOM has kind of led the way in this. We actually have surgical teams that go on target. We've got surgical teams that have honed their skills so much that we've put them through free fall training. They can jump in and they can start surgery on target.
So that does happen then.
Oh yeah. I mean, these guys have it in backpacks and they can be an anesthesiologist, the surgeon. Usually their team leader is a prior SOF medic that has become a physician's assistant, and that's then they have a comm guy that does all their comms, and then they may have an ER doc and a trauma nurse, but they can scale that, right? So if I've only got room for 2 on an aircraft, I can say, hey, I'm going to take the trauma surgeon and I'm going to take the fucking ER doc. And then as an 18 Delta, if I have to run anesthesia, I'll put your patient down on an anesthetic plane. Or if I need to be your first assist, we actually ran our guys through training where we learned to be first assist to the trauma surgeon. So if I was limited on space, I could still bring that surgeon and get them as close as possible to, like, in their mind, they wanted to catch the operator, right? That in their mind, it was like, we want to be right there to catch the guy before he hits the ground, because what's going to save their life is bright lights and cold steel. We know that. And they were amazing at it. Have so much respect for those guys that got out of the hospital and said, hey, we're going to go. And we put them, those fuckers went through some hard training. The physicians and the senior enlisted guys that ran that out of Fort Bragg, they put those motherfuckers through the ringer to make sure that they were the right docs, nurses, physicians assistants, PA, whatever it was, to get out there. And they were amazing fucking people. And they saved a lot of people's lives.
How, I'm trying to think how to word this. The government, how are they being able to keep these doctors? Because they're not making no money in the military as a doctor compared to being on the private side. They still make more money than the average, whatever.
Right.
They say they're captains.
Yep.
a captain in the Army is going to make what a captain does if he's in charge of a tank, or do they pay them extra if they're doctors?
If they have a specialty, yes, they get a medical specialty pay. I don't know how much it is. I know, like when I was young, working in a hospital, my neurologist got like his $60,000 annual bonus check that was his medical specialty check. So I'm sure it's much more now, and based on, I'm sure a cardiologist is different than a whatever, but most of them are doing it to serve
love of
their
country,
fellow service member and country. Like some of these guys I talk to, I'm like, dude, you're like an amazing surgeon. Like you could go out tomorrow and make $1 million a year. Mm-hmm. But I love my country. I love my job. I love working with people like you. I love working with people like my staff. They do it because they love their country.
And they're making a good living, and they're happy with what they're doing, and they're enjoying. What about, were you ever around Ronnie Jackson, our congressman? Because he was a Navy SEAL doc, wasn't he?
I don't know that he was a Navy SEAL doc.
No.
I can tell that I've already.
Okay, so here, I hope I don't. All right, so hopefully, I'm trying to be very careful. I don't say anything today that I might, step on some toes for. But so, Congressman Ron Jackson actually came out to our hog hunt,
right.
And so I met his son, and let's just say we all share some background. I didn't know that, but he walked up wearing a particular hat, and I was like, he was like, yeah, I work there now. And then he's like, hey, that guy over there. I'm like, yeah, he works there too. So I'm not quite sure what his lineage is, but they are definitely connected into the Naval Special Warfare community.
According to Wikipedia, Undersea Medical Officer Program in 96, Jackson had a series of operational postings as officer in charge and diving medical officer at Explosive Ordnance Disposal Mobile Unit 8.
Okay. So in the Navy, for special operations, we have undersea medical officers and dive medical officers, as well as flight surgeons. They go to learn to be Navy divers, and then they get specialized training to treat dive-related pressure-type injuries. And that's the physicians that we have to support it. So it sounds like Dr. Congressman Jackson was actually the dive medical officer for EOD Mobile Unit, which is the EOD side of the house. He may have worked at a SEAL team. It doesn't sound like they've listed it, but if he was a UMO or a DMO, he definitely was in support of Navy Special Operations.
I was thinking when he was honest with this one time, we've had him on 3 or 4 times, that he had said he was assigned to a SEAL team at one time.
And diving safety officer at the Naval Safety Command in Norfolk. That's the end of the Wikipedia.
But here's the thing. He could have also been at a hospital and had been TAD out to the SEAL team. So a lot of times you only get like 1 billet or 2 billets for a doctor at your command. You need many, many more. So a lot of times we would go to the local medical treatment facility and be like, hey, you got any DMOs, UMOs on staff? And they're like, we do. Could we get them TAD to come work with us? So we would pull them over. So while not an official command, they're actually out there. And I'll tell you, we used, now hearing that, I'm surprised I never kind of crossed paths with him based on the years that he served. But I definitely would think that as a DMO, UMO, he was out in NSW, and that's what they support. That's their whole purpose.
I was thinking, was he also on a submarine?
I don't remember.
They support the submarine community as well.
I think he was on a sub also.
Yep, that's the undersea medical officer piece, and then the dive medical officer piece. So they can do two different elements.
It's a different cat on a submarine. Me and my wife and Payne got to go on a nuclear sub in Seattle a couple weeks ago. We had a guy that we got not a big, we couldn't take pictures or nothing. Well, it was still operational and stuff, but they had the crew on it and stuff. And man, I'll tell you right now, that's a tough word. I'm assuming you've been on a submarine a bunch.
Yeah, good chow.
Was the food good?
Oh yeah.
There's no internet on it or nothing.
Good food, best air conditioning on the planet. Like I'll tell you that right now. Other than that, never want to go on one again. Yeah.
I asked the guy. I said, "How often do y'all shower on this thing?" I'm thinking, a bunch of stinking ass. I was thinking it would smell like an old sock in there.
Yeah.
He goes, "We try to get people to shower every day."
Yeah.
I thought, boy, I would too if you're in close quarters like that.
They're making water.
Did you stay in one? Was you there a long time? Like the times? Did you get to spend a lot of time or just days
on
or two?
Yeah, just days. We'd get on, get a ride somewhere. We'd get out.
Could you imagine riding one of them things for 60 or 90 days?
No, wouldn't do it.
That would drive me crazy.
I love the fact that those guys do it. I'm glad they pay them what they do, but that is not a job for me.
When you were on it for just a day or two, did you get claustrophobic at first?
Nothing.
It's no like different than being in an airplane.
No, smooth. It's not. You don't get like the sea movement. Once you're underwater, it's just like driving down the road.
Do you feel it when you come up a lot, though, or is it a gradual deal?
Once you're on surface, you'll feel it tilt, but underneath, nothing.
Underwater stuff. How often would you see like a problem with diving in and then they get the bends or something?
Yeah, you have. Well, overpressure syndrome is the most common for us, right? We don't do long, deep dives. That's typically when you get your bends, type 1, type 2 decompression sicknesses, if you will. For us, it's more of that rapid ascent, overinflation of your lungs, gets air into your arterial system. Navy dive tables and systems are set up super safe. So if you plan your dive your plan, and you're within all of those limits, you're pretty good. However, there's things happen. We were in Thailand. One of our groups, I was over doing some stuff on the range. One of our groups was over on the beach diving, and one of the guys had a rapid ascent on his Draeger, so closed loop, 100% oxygen system, and so they called me up and they're like, "Hey, can you come over here real quick?" And so we went over there, and I knew the platoon, but I didn't know the platoon really well. And my first question was, "Where the fuck's your corpsman?" Right? So he's somewhere else fucking off, and I'm like, "How are you guys out here diving?" And this is years ago. I'm like, "How are you out here diving without your corpsman?" Then I found out who the corpsman was. I'm like, okay, it makes sense. But they're like, yeah, this guy over here. So they're giving me his dive profile, and he comes walking, and he's walking in sideways. And I was like, is that normal? They're like, no. So that to me is an automatic neurological disorder. So they actually put a dive medical officer in the back of a Navy jet and flew him all the way to Thailand so that he could be at the local Thai Navy hospital where they did his decompression treatment. That was probably my first exposure to it. Other than that, I mean, for the most part, we had a few cases throughout the years where usually hobby diving guys would go out, to Mexico on the weekend and then come back and like, hey, my hips are hurting. We'd send them over to the chamber. I didn't see a lot of, we planned for it, but we didn't see a lot of like diving related injuries. With the type of diving that we did. So,
do you like diving? What do you like more? Because you got to also jump out of helicopters and everything. Which one do you have more reservations to do?
How cold's the water?
I didn't think about that.
Yeah. So, long cold dives suck.
I can imagine.
But
what's a long dive? How long?
3 hours.
Oh my
Good
God.
Lord.
Yeah.
How far are you traveling?
Depends. So depends on your mission. So if you're doing an insert, you might be traveling, and if you're, the way we swim, a lot of it you would do what we call turtleback or surface, and you swim a large portion of your dive on the surface, and then when you get to a certain point, a couple miles out, you'd go subsurface.
Are you using little motorized little jet ski things underwater?
We finally did get those things, but those things are fucking AGE waiting to happen. So those things are so fat. We're talking about overinflation. You got to be really careful with those because those things are moving you out in the water. But we had all kind of different ones that actually attached to your hips that had, dual propellers on them. The little toe, rocket things that you could drive in the water.
So the James Bond movies, they make them look easy. So they're not as easy when you're doing them in person.
Oh, they're easy. That's the problem. But they're fucking fast.
They get up and go.
You could be at 15 feet, and then a second later, you're shooting out. Like we'd get in the pool and see how far we could shoot out of the pool. But without a drive suit on, so you weren't worried about overpressure, just doing it with a breath hold.
How fast are they going, like when you're underwater?
Depends on the current, right? If I'm with the current, I might be moving 2, 3, 4 knots. If it's against the current,
So 6 miles an hour, 5 miles an hour?
Yeah.
And how deep are those things?
So we're shallow divers, right? We're combat divers. So we're diving 10, 15 feet of water at transit depth. I can make an excursion down to 30 feet, but I'm very limited amount of time because we're diving 100% oxygen. And at those partial pressures, it becomes toxic.
Earlier, I asked you off air, so you said we could talk about this.
Yep.
When I was on that submarine, I asked,
Yep.
y'all ever shoot Navy SEALs out of the torpedo hole?
Yep.
Well, I didn't get much of an answer.
Kind of look
Yeah.
at you.
Yeah, well, like they didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
So can you talk about that?
I can. And it's not the torpedo. I'm sure there's probably some crazy dude that fucking swam out
It's
the
a movie
torpedo
shit
show.
I've seen,
Yeah.
so that's...
So there's 2 different ways you can do it. So each submarine has what we call a lockout chamber. So if the sub gets in trouble, you can, get folks out of it, escape chamber. we could use that to lock in and lock out. So basically, it's a small chamber on the submarine. Your team gets in there, and then you pressurize it, and then you're able to open the hatch, swim out, and then same thing. They can open the hatch, you can swim in, and then depressurize.
So you're not getting shot at. It just opens the door up and you just swim out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, at that point, so on that, you're usually doing free ascent, meaning no compressed gas, or you're doing open circuit. So you're not limited by our 100% oxygen dive limits. So you could block out of a submarine at 60 feet. So the sub's 60 feet down, and all you're going to do is go straight to the top. So in a submarine that has missiles on it, we can do it in their missile tubes. So you get in the missile tube with our boats, and our boats are specially designed that they had bottles on them and then a nozzle in the front so we could drain them. But you get your team, your boats in a missile tube, they flood it, open it, crank your boats, they inflate, you just hold on, shoot to the surface, do your mission, come back, and then they're Mars motors, they're amphibious motors, they got drain plugs in them, so you just fucking turn your air off, and then the motor starts to sink, pushes all the air out the front, you swim them back down, they open the fucking hatch, you go back in, they fucking pressurize the water out of it, and you go on.
My question, now
At
that
60 feet,
now I'm a submariner.
what's the pressure like down that low?
I mean, shit, you dive that all the time. So
It's not that bad.
let's see, what is it? 14.7 is an atmosphere, or 33 feet's an atmosphere. So at that point, surface you're at 1, 33 you're at 2. So you're not even at 3 atmosphere at that point.
Andy, 3 atmosphere. What's going on with
Yeah,
you? You know that?
so
I've been in some deep pools.
14.7 psi is an atmosphere. So at that point, you're only getting like 30 pounds of pressure on you.
So it's not that. It's not
nothing.
unbearable.
I mean, we can open circuit dive to 180 feet.
What's open circuit diving?
The suck it in and blow the bubbles out is just regular compressed ambient air.
That's what I'm assuming that's what I did as a
Yes, yes, that's what you do as a wreck diver.
Bahamas or whatever.
Okay. My question is, when I was on that submarine, I'm always thinking of things different. And I'm thinking, how the hell they get everything in this damn thing? Because we went by their freezer, and he opens the door and shows us the freezer with all the food and shit in it. I'm like, how the fuck did they get the freezer into this place if that thing goes out and breaks?
That hatch?
They never
shit
showed
down.
us the hatch. He was telling me about loading the missiles in. How hard it is to get the missiles. It's a work to get the missiles into that thing.
Oh, yeah.
So they have a hatch that they can open up where they can put all your shit in. So that was pretty easy then.
It's the same fucking hatch they got to crawl through.
Oh, there ain't much. There's no.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
No,
okay. That's what I was asking.
Oh, yeah.
There ain't much room.
No.
It's not a fat boy deal. It's a skinny boy's deal.
Oh, yeah.
And
It's not fun.
one guy was pretty round that was in there, and I was thinking, boy, I tell you what, there can't be 2 or 3 you guys walking down the hall at the same time.
As long as you fit through the hole once, you're good, right?
Yeah.
Were you as yoked then as you are now?
No, I was, for most of my career, I was right around 200 pounds.
Okay.
Okay, my question now is, when we were on that, they were talking about what happened in the worst case scenario.
Yep.
Worst case scenario is you're probably going to die anyways. But they said that they'll poke your eardrums.
Yes.
That's not a bullshit deal then.
Okay, so first off, there's absolutely no fucking reason to do that.
Okay. Well, this guy told me, he said, we don't train on this shit at all.
I'm not going to say that it's an old tale. There is, I think it's called a tamponography or some shit like that. It is a process. So if I'm in a chamber, typically it's for a patient that we're in a chamber and I need to rapidly compress them and I don't want to blow their eardrums because that's a traumatic explosion, right? So I can perf a little hole in their tympanic membrane so that as they go down, it's just like getting in a plane when you got a Valsalva. If you can't do that yourself, you could potentially perforate your eardrum, right? If you're in a submarine at 14.7 psi, because I think that's what they pressurize it to, which is surface pressure, and that sub has a fucking malfunction at 300 feet, well, that's what, 10 atmospheres, that's 147. So there's a lot of fucking pressure. But as the crew member, as they're pressurizing to escape, they should be able to Valsalva. There should be no fucking reason someone's doing a perforation on their eardrum.
So I was wondering, so they expect, I would more take my chances of shit blowing up on me than having some fucker stick a needle down my ears and pop my eardrum.
Yeah, that's the last thing I want.
So
like some corpsman trying to figure out how to stick a knife in my ear.
Because he told me, he said, we don't train on this. It's the last case scenario that we would do it. We put these suits on. Somebody's got to pop your eardrum. I'm like, whoa, hold on. That eardrum deal lost me right there. I don't want to die and be in pain, so I'd rather just blow up and be done all at once.
Yeah, so usually, and maybe there's, I'm not a submariner, but usually there is a bar in any type of mask that you're able to push your nose down so you can occlude it, so you can Valsalva. Now, I think what he's saying is if they're putting some type of helmet or mask on, because they're going to do, they're going to have an oxygen source while they go ascending. I think what he's saying is if once they have that mask on, they don't have any way to Valsalva, so they're going to go ahead and perforate their TMs ahead of time. That I wouldn't do that. Like, to me, that's not something I would be part of.
He said they put a suit on. If my memory's right, they got like a survival suit.
Yep.
And they're going to just float your ass to the top, and you're going to go shooting up from however deep it is, and you got to be able to blow out the whole time.
Yep.
300 feet?
However it is, he said, because your lungs expand as you're going up. Is that right?
Well, yeah, and you are breathing compressed air inside that submarine, right? So as you go up, if you just held your breath, that air would expand in your lungs. So while we're like 300 feet, that's a long distance. It is, but because the air does expand, that will help you out a little bit. You're going to run out before you get to the surface, I'm sure. But
he said no one's ever survived because they've never had to do it, but that's the worst case scenario.
oh, that is totally worst case scenario. Like, you're probably going to drown before
Right.
your fucking ear. I mean, the last thing I'd be worried about is my fucking perforated eardrums. Yeah. Like, I'll figure that shit out once I'm on the surface.
So when you're going through all the dive training, are they like doing the same stuff to you that they do to the SEALs and buds? Like as far as like rolling you up and giving you malfunctions with everything?
Yep. The combat dive schools are,
Yeah.
I mean, very similar. Obviously we all have we're all proud of our own course. And if, they're sitting here, they're going to tell you, well, ours is tougher because it's buds. But it's the same principle. It's, we go through pool week where you learn how to correct, and you've got some guy that comes down and just fucks your world all to shit. And you got to unfuck yourself, right? Because that's what happens in the surf zone, right? People are like, I don't know why you guys have to do that.
Yeah.
Well, if I get tumbled in the surf zone and I get my regulator ripped out of my mouth or my mask ripped off, I don't just have the benefit of just popping to the surface and saying, hello, we're here.
Right.
Like, I've got to be able to recover myself, keep myself safe, my team safe. We're potentially in a foreign conflict, area, hostile area. So that's the purpose of that training, is to make sure that if you get your shit fucked up, that you can recover on it. And we do that both with our open circuit systems. And then after that, you'll do it with your closed circuit. A little less violent with the closed circuit rig, just because of some of the delicacies with the rig. But yeah, same process. A lot of our, I think, ocean swims and events are the same, but then the actual tactics that we employ are going to be different. So they'll do some underwater demolition stuff that we may not necessarily do.
Right.
And then we'll do some, beach type stuff that they might not do in their course. So I think from a technical perspective, there's probably some differences, but for the most part, we're all trained to the kind of the same levels of combat diver.
I was scared to fucking death when we went scuba diving in the Bahamas, and they're like, take your regulator out and you got to like do the whole thing. I was scared to death that was going to happen when I was in the fucking beach or when I was in the ocean. Like, I can do this shit in a pool.
Yeah.
But if my air hose is over here, like, I couldn't imagine somebody just coming down and fucking your world up, and then like you got to unfuck it, like you said.
Oh yeah, they tie that shit in a knot and turn your air off.
What do? You just take it off and
so first you're just supposed to hold on to your rig, right? They're like, as soon as you get hit, don't let go of your tanks, because if they take your tanks, you're fucked. So you grab one strap or two straps, whatever you can get, and then you just kind of wait until when the violence stops. Put yourself back together. They're on a breath hold, so they come down from the surface, so they're not allowed to be on a regulator, so that they have to be on a breath hold. But they'll come down, and usually the first, I mean, you cheat a little bit. You see their shadow, and you'll fucking grab your strap, and then the mask goes first, regulator goes next, and then they'll yank on your shit and pull on it and flip you over, flip you around, take a fin, throw your fin, tie your regulator around your manifold.
You just don't panic.
You just sit there and fucking wait. Like, all right, it's going to end in a second, because I can hold my breath longer than this motherfucker can.
You just hope that you had that full breath of air.
I
You just hope that you didn't exhale when they.
Those are the douchebags that wait to that exhale.
See the bubbles?
So when you're in the deep end, when you're crawling, I'm probably giving secrets that you're not, but you're crawling along the deep end, because that's what you're doing. You're all crawling in a circle in the bottom of the pool,
Just waiting to see who's
just
gonna get
watching
fucked
each
up.
other like, this is fucking stupid. And you're like doing these sippy breaths, so if they can't hit you on an exhale, because those guys will wait and they'll be like, and then your regulator's gone. You're like, fuck. Yeah.
What's the wildest TV like? Because everybody listening to this is that their only experiences, other than the military guys, has been TV shows and shit. What's the most TV like mission that you can go on that you can talk about that you've been a part of?
The most TV like mission,
like shit you would see on TV that you're like, there's no way, and then you're like, yeah, we do shit like that. What is?
Man, that's a good question. Do you have any examples?
Well, like shit, foreign country having to go off of a submarine, go up and storm the beach and go into a house and get somebody out of it.
Oh yeah, I mean we practice for that. Like that's been done.
Did you have to do that ever in real deal?
I mean, a submarine lockout is an insertion technique. So if I can leave San Diego, California on a airplane, I can fly out. I can jump out of that airplane with boats and all my crew, staff, land in the ocean. I can have a naval vessel pick me up. That naval vessel can transfer me to a spot in the ocean where I get on my little boat off the big boat. The submarine doesn't even have to surface. They can come up and do what's called a snag and tow, where I've got 2 rubber boats with a line between them. The submarine runs their periscope right through the middle of it, pulls my 2 boats together. All we do is fucking disconnect all of our shit, sink our boats. They open up the hatches. We swim everything down. We get in the submarine. They take us for a ride. Repeat the thing in reverse. We go out, go in, do a mission, come back. I mean, the SEALs have taken it to the next level with their own fucking submersible subs, right? Mm-hmm. Like those things are badass. I know that a lot of them don't like riding in them, but those things are so much better platform because they can take that and drive it off the sub and park it like 100 yards off the fucking beach on the bottom of the ocean. And then they just got to, swim in that fucking 100 yards versus, subsurface from fucking 3 miles out or whatever. So there's all kind. I mean, there are so many different ways that you can put the pieces together that I don't think I've ever said anything like you can't do that.
Like we'll watch a TV show and you're like, oh, the SEALs are here. This shit's over. And then you got guards in a third world country guarding a mansion, and you hear this poof, 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 poof. And they always put the one in the head too when they're end of it, and then go in the house.
Yep.
So you've done shit just like that too.
Yeah. So you're trained to engage a target in a particular way. So normally you engage the biggest part of your target, right, which should be the chest. But if I identify body armor or any type of kit that's going to preclude me from maybe penetrating into the chest, then I go to the head, right? Like that's a decision that I make right there. We're not shooting them to wound them, right?
No,
like that, I hate to say that, but I'm trained to, to the chest, one to the head, right? Like press. Like that's what we're trained to do. So, if I'm clearing this room and you're threats, I'm going to 2 in your chest, nothing else, press, finish you off with a headshot. Like that's just
right.
In suppressors are not as quiet as everybody thinks they are.
No. And it also depends on the round. Mm-hmm. If you're not using a subsonic round, it does take away some of the sound, but it's not like it's still going to crack and your weapon's still going to cycle.
The bolt.
Yep.
Yep.
But a subsonic round, it's actually a big difference.
And also what's amazing about it, and it's just TV, but that's what most of us have to go by, is how precise the coordinations are in the plan.
Yep.
Because no plan ever goes completely the way it's supposed to. But y'all's plans are pretty damn close. If it looks like if the TV shows are prettier.
Yes.
How can you plan? So you did in 4 months. You did 167 raids. How can you have everything planned out to the T for if you're just doing it every single night?
You basically you go out, you come back, you dekit, you wake up the next day, you go into your planning cycle, you plan all day, you execute, you come back. It's fucking rinse and repeat every day. Yep. So
when you did that, every mission was pretty well kind of similar.
Yeah. I mean,
you had a couple different variables that you had to account for.
At that point, it was all raids, right? So we had a standard template on was it going to be a vehicle? Was it going to be a helicopter, right? Mm-hmm. Those are the only, was it going to be offset, meaning we're going to go land and walk fucking 20 miles in, hit a target, or we're going to land right on the fucking target. Mm-hmm. Like those are the variables that change. But the teams itself, we knew who was going to be on security. We knew who was going to be the assault team. We knew who was driving if we were driving. So all of those pieces had been worked out on pre-deployment. At that point, you're just operating. Like you're literally just executing, and all you're doing is changing where you're going. Right. So usually what happens, you don't know the next missions until you're finished. And then usually the officer and the senior enlisted will go meet with ops Ops will give them a target brief or a brief on whatever the next op is. And then the platoon leadership is in the platoon space. And then the officer and the senior enlisted will come back and be like, okay, hey, here's tonight's target. We're going to this city. We've been there 1,000 fucking times. But we're going to drive in this time. And they were like, oh, fuck, are we sure the cars are running? We'll do a remain behind, or, hey, the ones I hated the most were the offsets. And so in 2006, we're in Iraq, and I was with a force recon company, and we were doing assaults every fucking night. Well, there was also Dev Group was on one of the other bases, and we had some mutual friends. So they needed some support one night, and we were like, fuck, this is great. We're going to get to support these guys. Like, this is fucking, we made the majors, right? And we decided that we were going to land like 14 miles off target and fucking walk in, because we didn't want to spoil the target. And I remember we're still fucking walking up to our target, and these guys decided to fly all the way in. So before we could even get to our target, they spooked it, and they all fucking took off running because they heard their helicopters, and we were like, motherfuckers. So sometimes the coordination doesn't work exactly the way it's supposed to. But those were the dynamics that would change. I mean, for the most part, everybody knew their job, like everybody.
You ever had an extraction that didn't work where you had to steal a vehicle or something to get back?
Yes, we did.
That's a story.
Yeah. So we actually, I don't know if I can say that. We have like vehicles from overseas in the United States. I don't fucking, they can go find them if they want them. But there would be times like, if shit didn't work out, we fucking stole a Jenga truck.
A what?
Fucking Jenga truck.
What is a Jenga truck?
One of those big ass like Mercedes.
Oh, okay, yes.
Flat front.
Yes.
With just the open, looks like a flatbed.
Yes.
But it had like all the fucking decorations on it. Fucking Jenga truck.
So
we drove that fucker back to the base. Come pulling up. We're like waving the guards like, what the fuck? We're like, hey, how you doing? He's like, what are you guys doing? We're like, well,
Hummer broke and we had to get home.
We drove that motherfucker right onto the base.
Did you ever have anything on the dives hit you in the middle of the night, like a shark?
Oh man, yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, I hated that shit. Seals
Seals will do it?
would grab your fins and fucking yank on them. Like,
You
had
hope
a
it was-
flounder beat the shit out of me one night. This is no shit. Like, it's on one of my going away paddles. This flounder fucked me up. Like, I must have put my hand like right on. It's like pitch black. We're crawling along the bottom. I'm using sonar. We're trying to find obstacles and mines in the surf zone. So for that, we try to suck ourselves to the bottom of the ocean, because you don't want the waves pushing you around. So we're super heavy. So you're really just kind of pushing yourself along the bottom. I must have fucking hit this fucking flounder, and my dive buddy was like 3 feet away from me, and this thing just went fucking haywire on my face. I was like, what the So we get up after the dive, and he's just laughing his ass off. I'm like, what the fuck was that? He's like, that was a flounder that just fucked you up. So they put it on my paddle, like got his ass kicked by a flounder or some shit. So yeah, you'd always bump into stuff, and we'd see sharks,
Oh, God.
I always told him, like, be the first one to a knife, man. That's, fucking stab your buddy, fucking swim. Like, fucking whoever's bleeding is getting eaten, right? Like, that's just how it is.
Did you ever have to do any missions in the, like in not Vietnam, but that kind of terrain? Like, I'm trying to think.
Jungle?
Like a jungle type terrain. Early in my career, we did a lot of stuff in the Philippines, jungle-oriented jungle warfare.
Did you ever deal with Cobra?
Deployed. Did Cobra, yeah.
I mean,
Cobra
you
Gold.
did. No. Did you ever deal with cobra snakes or anything like that? No shit.
So in Thailand, we did their Thailand survival course, and the last day of the course, we had to capture a cobra.
Oh,
Yep. Oh yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I literally
I
waited
hate
to the
snakes.
very fucking last dude.
Yeah, I
and
did
they
the
had
same way.
one snake left in the box, and they're like, "Who didn't go yet?" And I'm in the back, like fucking hiding. And they're like, "Doc, did you go?" And I was like, "Fuck, man, no, I don't want to go." And they're like, "Yep." So yeah, you had to catch this motherfucker, cut its head off.
How'd you have to catch it?
So they had a stick.
Fuck that shit.
with
That's
a
not a
Y
very
on.
big stick.
Hey, let me tell you how fucked up this was, right? And this is actually, you can go to like the old Navy Times magazine, and there's articles in there about this. So these fucking dudes get up there, and they're like the most squared away military appearance I've ever seen. And they're the Thai instructors for the course. So they get this cobra out of the box. It looks like it's dead. It's not moving.
I got the
It's not,
heebie-jeebies thinking about it.
And he's got a stick that's like fucking 3 feet long, and he pokes the head with the stick. And then the other guy comes up, grabs the head. They take it, they cut the head off, they cut the tail off. Then they drain some blood in a shot glass. Then they cut out the gallbladder. Then they put the gallbladder in the shot glass.
Take your drink.
And then they put that shot glass on the table. So like, this is what each of you will do before you go on your final 3-day survival op. Dude, I don't know if that snake told those other snakes what the fuck was going on outside that box, because when they lifted that lid the second time, those things were jumping and hissing and spitting, and I'm like, fuck this. And I literally hid until the very end. And then they were like, finally, like, okay, and your stick's like this long. So they kind of maneuver it for you until you can get the stick.
Yeah.
But once you get it, you grab it, and then we shot it. And so their theory, their thought was you had the essence of the cobra. And they said that they've never had a Thai reconnaissance Marine bit by a cobra. That if you come across a cobra in the wild, that it'll sense the essence and it won't bite you.
Right.
I don't know if there's bullshit or that or not, but
Made
I'm like,
you feel better for the 3 days,
well,
didn't
hey,
it?
if I fucking run across a cobra, I'll be like, hey, we're homies, and like we're good. So
Did they have some antivenom there in case somebody got shit? Bit?
the local clinic, yes, but not,
That don't sound very
yeah,
good.
Yeah, that's one of the things we always checked. We didn't travel with our own, but the local hospitals always had antivenom.
Somebody that I know, or someone I went over there and got bit, and they bloodlet them where they cut their skin and shit, and they almost died from the freaking infection they got from the damn rusty ass knives in the middle of nowhere than they did from anything.
It's not the same sterile aseptic technique that we're used to here in the United States.
It's hot and miserable over there too, isn't it?
Yeah.
110 and a 99%
humidity. Just melt. Beautiful country. Fucking amazing people. But God,
LA?
it's just horrible weather.
Did you? So you had to go 3 days in the bush there?
Yeah. So my 3 days, I found a beach, 2 trees, built a hammock, and I swung on the hammock for 3 days.
Smart man.
And I had that fucking cobra just crawling in a fucking Ziploc bag the whole time. Because they're like, you can take your snake and eat it if you want. I never ate it. I just left
just
it.
had it there.
I starved for 3 days.
So how long did he move around in that bag?
Man, he pretty much moved for 3 days. Like he just fucking squirmed.
No head or nothing?
Nothing. He was skinned. Like we had skinned him and everything.
Still moved.
He just fucking squirming. I'm like, yeah.
Did you eat food while you were there then?
I caught some fish and some local stuff, but for the most part, I was just like, I'm gonna go fucking eat McDonald's when I get back.
Oh yeah, I can make it 3 days.
Yeah, I'm like, I can starve for 3 days.
So you didn't go try the local cuisine when you were there?
Oh, while we were in the country? Oh, always.
I would have.
Yeah. That was just part of the training.
Did they do the monkey brain? Did you go to that restaurant where they had the monkeys?
I never did that.
Did you ever see them do it?
No, I've heard of folks that
I don't know how the hell you could do that. I can't imagine doing that shit.
I'm a huge animal lover.
Yeah.
I couldn't fucking.
I'm in the hunting business. I'm the same way. I do not like to see anything suffer. It bothers me so bad.
Yeah.
But to eat a monkey, have you seen what they do?
Oh yeah, I saw somehow I rented a buddy. It was in high school or whatever, and it was like this horrific shit. And yeah, like they just basically put it in like the center of the table and they just club it, right?
Yep.
And then cut their head open
while it's alive.
Yeah, while it's alive, and they eat the brain.
Yeah,
Just nothing but
I couldn't do it. Yeah.
I don't. I like animals too much. That would bother me so bad.
Yeah, same.
I couldn't do it.
Yep.
I'm not saying I wouldn't eat monkey. I really don't think I would want to. But shoot some bitch between the head, let him have. I could do that.
I'll try anything.
Yes, I'm the same way.
But I'm not going to suffer it to try it. So if it's cuisine, I'll try local cuisine. But as the medic, I was always kind of cautious and mindful of what was going on.
Meat doesn't bother me because it's cooked.
Right.
But there's some of the things like texture and some things really just bad. What about water? That's a major thing because like when you're in India and shit, you can't drink water.
No, we always took our own water. And for those that don't realize this, ice starts as water.
Yes, that's exactly right.
I'd see my guys out in town drinking a fucking rum and Coke, and I'm like, hey, what are you doing? Doc, I'm not drinking the water. I'm like, the fucking ice? And they're like, what about the ice?
Yeah. If
Came from somewhere.
If it's not from a filtered place, it's like even in Mexico, when we go to the big resorts, we're always you don't have to worry about it there. But we go eat in town like in Isla all the time, and you kind of worry about that. Is this ice coming from filtered water, or is it coming from Jose's water sink over there and gonna make you sicker than a dog?
Yeah.
And you like ice.
I everywhere I go, I want ice. I can't stand to not have a drink with ice in it. Yeah. I mean, I do not like if coffee or tea is the only thing I don't put ice in.
Outside continental United States, no ice. For
yeah, you have just because of that.
Yeah,
everything comes in a bottle.
I've had too many guys like I got an iron stomach, Mike. I'm like, okay. 2 days later,
you have a loose ass though.
Yeah.
There's some people I follow on Instagram and they're in India and stuff. They eat street food all the time, and some of it looks pretty good, and some of it looks like you're going to die. But their old hands are nasty and shit. And I'm just thinking, man, one guy the other day was eating something. He said, well, he put his hands on it. He goes, I'll just have a couple of bites. Well, a couple of bites will sink your ass.
Oh yeah. Well, my younger days, years and years ago as a young sailor, I sat on the corner drunk in the middle of the night eating street food in Bangkok and everywhere else. So, I mean, I learned, luckily, but, I got smarter.
We have a local guy here that was in the Navy for a long time, and he was in a helicopter crash even. And I asked him, I said, you come close to dying there? He said, no, closest I ever come to dying was in jungles doing some kind of training. And he said, we drank some water. Oh. And he goes, and we weren't supposed to have water, but he goes, we were cramping up and stuff, and we took some water, and he said, I sucked it through took his hat and put it in the hat and kind of sucked on it to get water. And he said about 6 hours later, he said they had to helicopter him out.
Oh, yeah.
He said, I almost died.
It's violent. Yeah.
That's what he said. He says,
bad.
it's the sickest I've ever been in my entire life.
Yep. It is not a joke.
So those little shots of morphine that they have, back to Saving Private Ryan, how much is in that?
That Surette?
Yeah.
Oh, man. If you had asked me that like 15 years ago, I could have told you that. I think it's 10 milligrams.
And you just pop it?
And, you've got to squeeze that little, it's almost like a small toothbrush or toothpaste container.
Oh, right.
So it's metal. And I think it's 10 milligrams. I think each one's 10 milligrams. Do you get all 10? I don't know. I guess it's how well you can squeeze that fucking thing and then where you actually inject it. But I think if I remember right, it's 10 milligrams.
Where do you try to inject it? Just
muscle.
Just any muscle? So
muscle, yep. So
leg, muscle,
thighs, the most popular. Thigh, shoulder. But most folks just go for the thigh, especially if you're self-medicating, you can stick it in your thigh.
Right. And everybody carries that. So it's not coming out of your pack. You go to, if you come to a wounded soldier, you go to his kit first, like you said.
Yeah.
And
nobody's really there. We carry morphine, but not in the Surettes anymore. It's multi-dose vial. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, all of the non-medics are carrying a fentanyl lollipop.
Right. Now, you mentioned earlier the paperwork comes after.
Yep.
So do you have to report all the drugs that you administered? You got to do the whole workup.
Yeah. So we'll go back. If you've done anything on psych, like you'll write, just like any medical treatment, you'll do a soap note, write all the meds that you dispensed. And then even though we were deployed, talking about locking narcotics, we still did a monthly narcotic report where I had to report what I had on hand, what I had expended, and I would have to send that back to home station so that they're tracking and making sure that I've got my drugs. And then coming back from deployment, I would go in and I would turn in whatever I didn't use. If something was going to expire, they'd give me permission to destroy it. And then I could pull like a third party in and do the destroy. And then they could do a destruction letter. But very, very controlled on how we managed and kept those drugs.
Right.
That's because of an old coach that I had in Little League Baseball. He was one of the reasons that it happened. He was a medic in Vietnam, and he had a lot of drug issues when he got home because he would give half to the patient that was shot and give half to himself.
Yep.
Steadied his hand.
Yeah.
But he had to come back with a bad morphine addiction from Vietnam.
Yeah, that happens, unfortunately.
Yeah. Listen, it's been almost 3 hours. So
holy shit.
We're going to
done an excellent job.
Start wrapping up. It's always so interesting talking to guys like you and the places that you've gone, the things that you've seen, and you're doing awesome work now, post-military with helping veterans come back and kind of get back on their feet. And it's always fun talking to you guys.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate having me back.
One shout out, the Big Country Veterans Association. You do the hog hunt. Thank you for Cedar Ridge Aviation. They provide all the helicopters that do that. That's a hell of a job by Garrett and Dustin for that and their staff.
Garrett and Dustin.
Yep, you do a great job. Thank y'all for listening to us. Y'all check out the Big Country Veterans Association. They do a great service. Are y'all full for next year already, or do y'all have openings?
Not yet. We're still collecting names.
So if you got a combat veteran, it has to be a combat veteran, and they've got some problems or issues or all, or is it just anybody that served as a combat veteran? Anybody.
No problem. They don't have to have a problem. They can just want to come out and shoot some hogs.
If you're a Big Country, if you're a combat veteran, you need to get a hold of the Big Country Veterans Association. Put on a hell of a deal for a weekend. So check them out. Thank y'all for listening to us. God bless y'all. Have a great week.
Love you. Bye.